rose of the ashes. The spirits light up the night, looking down the aisle.
We're live from the Untold Radio Network. It's Untold Radio AM with Monster Quest producer, host Doug Hychek, and co-host Jeff Perella Jr. Untold Radio AM is going live right now.
This show is for entertainment purposes only. Yep, that's the ticket. Now here are your Untold Radio AM hosts, Doug Hychek and Jeff Perella Jr.
He walked where the tall pines whisper, where the shadows guard their ground, with a cast and a careful measure. He chased what had not been found. Science in his heartbeat, wonder in his eyes. He taught us all to question and never compromise. Here's to Jeff, who followed trails where the wild winds roam, turning legends into questions, bringing reason home. Your footprints are still with us, though the man has gone. Dr. Meldrum, in our hearts, your search lives on. From the halls of the university to the campfires in the night, he bridged the gap of mystery with courage and with light. He showed us that the journey's as sacred as the prize, that truth is in the footprints, not just before our eyes. Here's to Jeff, who followed trails where the wild winds roam, turning legends into questions, bringing reason home. Your footprints are still with us, though the man has gone. Dr. Meldrum, in our hearts, your search lives on. We'll carry on the questions, we'll carry on the flame. Every cast and story will whisper out your name. And when the forest calls us in the silence deep, we'll hear your voice reminding this mystery's ours to keep. Here's to Jeff, who followed trails where the wild winds roam, turning legends into questions, bringing reason home. Your footprints are still with us, though the man has gone. Dr. Meldrum, in our hearts, your search lives on. footprints are still on the trail, Jeff, and we're walking right behind.
Good evening,
Hello, everyone.
everybody. Welcome to Untold Radio. Tonight we're
Remembering our friend Dr. Meldrum tonight.
it's hard.
It's a tough show.
Tonight we are going to remember Jeff Meldrum. It's going to be a difficult broadcast at times. I'm going to try to hold it together. So this isn't going to be a show about Bigfoot or a show about research or cryptozoology or science of the unexplained. So tonight we're just going to pause and honor Jeff's life, the work and the legacy of Dr. Jeff Meldrum, who for so many of us, me greatly included, sorry. Jeff was far more than a name in the headlines or a guest in a documentary. He was a teacher, a mentor, and to many people, a really dear friend. At Idaho State University, he built a career as a respected professor of anatomy and anthropology. But it was his courage to step into the unknown, to apply the same scientific discipline to a mystery that most people would just dismiss. And that made Jeff very unforgettable. Jeff's groundbreaking book, Sasquatch Legend Meets Science, changed the conversation really for the first time. Evidence that had been long kept in the shadows was given the light for serious analysis. He didn't tell people what to believe. He showed us that the questions were worth asking. The evidence was worth examining. He showed us so many things about the mysteries of the natural world, especially the mysteries surrounding the Sasquatch. I had the privilege of working alongside Jeff, producing the documentary Legend Meets Science that Jeff's book kind of parallels. It was just the backbone, though. Jeff's book was amazing. And now we're working on Legend Meets Science too, that we both dreamed about finishing. So we can talk more about that later. But fate and plans, changed everything. His passing has left a space that we cannot ever fill. But it's also left us with inspiration. Inspiration to keep us pushing, keep questioning, keep carrying forward the mission that Jeff embodied, to look at the world with wonder, but also with reason. So tonight, many of Jeff's colleagues, fellow researchers, close friends will join us to share their stories, memories, reflections on what Jeff meant to them personally and professionally. So this is going to be a celebration of his life, his courage, and the community he helped build. So I really invite you to stay with us and join in. There will be times where if you want to join in, you can send Jeff. Jeff will post his email, and we can get you a join link. And, if we can all keep it brief, we can get many people on. So this show is really for you, Jeff. May your work continue to guide us always, for no one will continue to be guided by you with all that said, I'd like to welcome our first guest. I don't know, what order to bring people on. Everybody has a great story. I'd like to first bring Adam Davies on, and Adam can so nicely maybe even introduce some of the people we have. It looks like we have, I'm trying to look here.
Friends here.
Yeah, we have a lot of friends. We have Abe from the Minnesota BRT. I believe we have Renee Holland. We have Matt Moneymaker, Alex Petikoff, Jason McLean, David Ellis, and Carl Supp, and Daryl Denton, and Esteban Sarmiento. Anyhow, so let's go ahead and bring Adam on. Adam?
Welcome.
Hi. Thank you, guys, and thank you for that powerful introduction.
That was hard. I don't know.
I know it was, and I know, but you did it, Doug, and that's what matters.
I feel like a blithering idiot.
Not at all.
Anyhow,
showing you care about somebody is a strength, not a weakness. Yeah. So let me tell you my story about Jeff, Dr. Meldrum, and I know he'd want me to tell this story because he's told it a couple of times during his presentations, but there's several levels to it. So I exchanged emails a couple of times with Dr. Meldrum, Jeff, before 2008, but I really met him and we got together as a result of the Monster Quest production. It was in China. So I had pitched Monster Quest at the time. I'd done a couple of shows and one in Sumatra, and they'd liked them. And I said, why don't we do a story about the Yeren? And there had been a recent sighting of the Yeren, the Chinese wild man. And I thought it was a very interesting story. Stories of it went back hundreds of years BC. So it was a great story. And so they paired me up, or the guys who were organizing it there, the producers on the field, paired me up with Dr. Meldrum. That was decided. It was me and Jeff Meldrum were going to go out. And I thought, well, I don't really know him, and I'm not really sure how it's going to work, our dynamic, because he was a Latter-day Saint, non-drinking, non-smoking, and there I am, smoked at the time, drank, still drink, and not really religious. And we were sharing a room, and I thought, how are we going to go on? We got on fabulously, because two of the qualities that Jeff had was grace, humility, and also he had a good sense of humor. And it's the good sense of humor we're going to touch on, because people don't always know that, people who've watched his presentations. So when I thought about what I wanted to say about him, I want people to understand what a well-rounded character he was. And also he had a massively formative influence on me, because we sat down while we were in Beijing and we had a talk, and I said, and I hadn't at the time done any Bigfoot research. And I said, tell me about Bigfoot. Tell me about Patterson Gimlin. What, is it worth me coming over? Because it seemed to be a very amorphous field and all sorts of politics. And he said, look, this is why I think it's real. This is what I think you should do and how you should approach it. And if it wasn't for Jeff, I can tell you now, number one, I would have never done Bigfoot research. And number two, I would have never come to the United States other than for a holiday. And now here I am, sat here as a US citizen in Tennessee. And that the starting point for all of my life since then has been Jeff Meldrum. That is a formative experience, and he knew this. And we talked about it because we remained really good friends. He wrote the forward, kind enough to write the forward for my second book. But let me tell you this one point, because I know everybody wants to get in. So I just want to make this one point, which shows just how funny he is. So we were on, when we were filming the second part of that show, we got some really good science out of it, by the way. It led to a collaboration, the first one between, I mean, sometimes people say, well, there isn't science coming out of these. So there's fantastic science. Dr. Zhu from the museum, Beijing Museum of Natural History, and Jeff Meldrum collaborated in a scientific note based on the footcast that was presented by a Chinese researcher called Dr. Yuan. It was the first of its kind. It was cutting edge science and revolutionary. And that was Jeff's work after this show. But we were up on top of this mountain, and the scene was going to be, I was going to use a thermal cam, and I was exhausted because I was trying to work out how to use it, and all the instructions were in Mandarin. So I was really tired, and it's 10,000 feet. We're on top of a mountain. And the idea was, now I'm 6 foot. Dr. Meldrum's bigger than I am. He's like 6'2", I think. And they stuck us in a Chinese pup tent. And he was going to spend the night in that. And I was going to get like 2 hours sleep before I used this thermal on top of the mountain. And I just thought, I just need 2 hours because I'm going to be like doing this for ages afterwards. And there I am. I can feel him against there awkwardly. And I said, Jeff. And he's like, what, Adam? And I said, your tash is brushing against my chin. I can't do this. And he laughed so hard. Yeah. So, if I want to distill what I want to say about Jeff tonight is he was a person, a brilliant scientist, cutting edge academic. He faced lots of resistance, as everybody knows, from academia in order to do this. But he was a wonderful individual. He was very kind to his wife and children, a lovely man. And he had a great sense of humor. If you knew him, that was a great way of breaking barriers. So, for me, he's an irreplaceable individual. And I think, we all just have to do our best because that's what he'd want. So that's what I'd like to say tonight.
Thank you so much, Adam.
Thank you.
Yeah, he did have a way to make you laugh. And of course, he laughed a lot too, but he had a charisma so strong. If I even sat next to him, I would start getting giggly because he just oozed charisma off himself. He just made me smile, and you have to experience his charisma. You have to meet him. It was absolutely amazing. So I bet you had a ball traveling with him.
Yeah, he was a very, and this is the point. He's a very entertaining and upbeat person,
Yeah.
And he never ever, it was never a question of him compromising his integrity and who he was.
No.
But he was always prepared to level with you. Yeah. And he enjoyed the banter, I'd tease him sometimes. He'd tease me back. I'm not going to attempt his terrible attempts at a British accent because even Dick Van Dyke would have blushed at that. But he was an amazing guy. I mean, very, very vibrant. And what you've just said amplifies it, because people will often see that one dimension when he's giving a talk for an hour and a half. But that's only one facet of his personality.
Yeah. He was great. So you can stay, Adam. Love to have you stay, but you can leave at any point. We're going to bring on some other people, and feel free to interact. Whatever, I don't know. We're just kind of winging this whole show tonight. We've never done a show this big. Let's see, who can we bring up next? Who would be ready? Now it says Renee Holland's back there, but it says device not connected. Is that just her camera off, Jeff?
I don't think she has either connected.
Oh, okay. And then we've got, I'm looking here.
I'll send her a text here right now.
Yeah, she may have disconnected for a minute. Let's go ahead and bring Lyle Blackburn up and Alex Petikoff.
All right. Welcome, Lyle, and welcome, Alex.
Hello, guys. Hey, Alex.
Hey. So who wants to go first and try to pack Jeff into a little ball of words? Lyle, do you want to take a shot?
I'll give that a shot. And all the things Adam said, that's one thing. It's just he's so well-rounded, just a very smart individual, knowledgeable about obviously the subject we're passionate about, but so many other subjects. And he was humorous. For me, it's kind of a surreal thing that I became friends with him. When I first met him was around 2010 at a conference in Oklahoma. And I had started going to conferences, and I had already read Legend Meets Science. which was kind of funny because I'm a musician and we'd drive around the tour bus and stuff, and I'd always be reading Bigfoot books and stuff. And the guys would be asking, "What is that?" You know, I was like, "This guy's really smart. This Jeff Meldrum, you know." And so getting to meet him there and getting the book signed and things was great. And then to suddenly progressively be asked to do these conferences where I became friends, and I got to watch his presentations numerous times over the years. And even though I dare say we were colleagues, I mean, I always looked up to him. He was on a level that obviously scientifically and his academic credentials that I could never reach. But he was always a source of learning. Even when we were just hanging out eating dinner, I was soaking up all sorts of information because, you know, he just had such a vast knowledge. That's what he did, was learn things. And so it was so beneficial to me over the years to be around him and to enjoy those times. And also the humor, you know, you when you don't really know him or you meet him for a short period of time, you may just discuss academia or you see him do a presentation. But, you know, during the course of traveling around, eating dinner and things like that, his humor would come out. And I remember I told this story a few times prior to his untimely passing, that the last time I saw him in person was at the West Virginia Bigfoot Conference in June, end of June this summer. And we had done a couple of events together in June. And we were, it was myself, Ken Gerhardt, and Jeff were in a car, and we were going down on Saturday morning to go into the conference, and it's on this big fairgrounds. And so it's just sort of funnels in. We get up there and there's some kids like taking entrance fees, and they don't know who we are. And so we're trying to say, well, we're the speakers, you know, and they're like, well, it's $5 to get in. We're like, well, look, we're on the poster. This is us. And they're kind of looking. I go, see the hats? There's two guys with hats. I go, and if Bigfoot isn't good enough for you, the guy over here is Santa Claus. And Jeff, you know, just waved at him. And I think they thought we were nuts, and they just let us through the gate. And so from then on, I was joking with Jeff the rest of the weekend that he was Santa Claus.
Wow.
If we don't find Bigfoot, at least we found Santa Claus. But I sort of tear up here. But
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. See, Jeff, so apparently there's a lot of people trying to get on, which is great.
Yes.
And we have 15 max. And so some people are getting rejected there. So maybe it would be better if people get done and then they click off. Right?
Yeah, I'll click off because I don't want to make sure everyone gets their opportunity.
Yes.
I'll watch the show
Thank you so
afterwards.
much.
Thank you,
thank
I'll
you
watch the
so
show
much,
afterwards. I'll do
Adam.
that.
Yeah, we love you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Adam.
you so much,
All
guys.
right, bye.
Bye.
And I guess I'll just, you know, I'll make this short. It's just such an honor to be on here with all of you guys. And I think that we all aware that Meldrum is up there. I mean, this guy is like, you know, Grover Krantz and John Green and Renee DeHenden, all these pioneers of the research. And for a subject that you often hear many people say, I wish mainstream science would take this more seriously.
Yeah.
He was our guy. He, you know, my parents were, I was on a TV show, like, oh, that's great. And my dad was really fascinated because I was on, you know, do you know Dr. Meldrum? I'm like, yeah. The respect, even to casual interest, was huge. And so I think that no matter what anybody believes Sasquatch is or isn't, Jeff was that guy that was giving us the credibility. He was the spokesperson, and he will forever be connected to this subject. 50 years from now, people will remember him just like they do Roger Patterson. And for me, it was a great honor to have known him and follow in his footsteps.
Thank you so much, Lyle.
Thank you.
Thank you much. We're gonna click Lyle off and let's get Matt Moneymaker Thank you. There he is. Yeah, Matt's here. So let's bring Matt up. Goodbye, Lyle. We're going to swap you for Matt.
Welcome, Matt. There he is. Welcome.
Hey, Matt.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I didn't know if the mic would work from here.
It's good to see you, Matt.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I haven't been able to go to conferences or this and that this year. I had a hip surgery 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
so the scheduling of that was uncertain until it finally happened. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I haven't been out.
But Matt, I want to interrupt you because I want Matt to know, and I want everybody to know, if it wasn't for Matt Moneymaker, I wouldn't even be here. I wouldn't be anywhere. He's the one that introduced me to Jeff. And I just owe you so much, Matt. I want to say that publicly.
Well, thank you so much. And on an I to you, too. And if I have, I'll try to get to the most important stuff first. And one of it involves you, Doug. But not long after he passed, I was asked by somebody, is there a fund to donate to? And for his family or for something. And the guy who was offering that could put some serious money into it. And so I said, as far as I know, this was so sudden, and I don't know if anybody's launched anything like that for the family or whatever. But after thinking about it for a while, thinking, okay, I'll ask Cliff to see if he can get something going for the family. I thought, would be if you were going to do something that would really do what Meldrum would like to have seen. Which is his work being shown to the public being able to show the casts and talk about them like he did so tirelessly, going around the country and going to festivals and conferences, etc. I thought, okay, if there's a fund where people could pay, half the money will go to Jeff's family, who deserves it. He was supporting them, but another portion, maybe half of it, go to preserving all his evidence, his track evidence, everything in his lab that's relevant, taking care of that, making sure that doesn't go away. Obviously, the obvious thing, and even Jesse suggested this in one of the last interviews he did, he goes, really, Cliff Barrickman should take over a lot of that. Even though he's not an academic, he still understands everything very intimately that Jeff understood and all the things that needed to be pointed out. Well, what I thought is that there should be a rolling exhibit that can go around the country with his tracks and really present that stuff really well, with a big screen showing him talking about it, the best representational tasks, and make it very interactive in that you'd want the most accurate lifelike statue for people to come and take pictures next to, not just kind of the cheesy things you'll see at some of these festivals, but something really anatomically correct, a real big one, 9-10 feet tall, showing their dimensions, and then also putting the casts in a way that people can come up and put their bare foot next to a Bigfoot cast to show how much bigger it is. Like Roger Patterson, the famous Patterson, a photo of Patterson doing with a footprint cast. Anyway, so I thought, display, a vehicle, do this, and I thought, God, probably the best person I know who could do the most bang-up job doing that is Doug Hychek. Putting that kind of exhibit together with the lighting.
I did not expect to hear
stuff.
that.
I was just like, that's a Dougie thing.
Yeah, we could work with Cliff, because I know Cliff is going to inherit the tracks, the track casts, as I remember.
Yeah. Well, I know, Doug, if you just cook on it a little bit, you'll think of how something could roll in and just this can all be unfolded and people will just be like, wow.
Well, this is exactly how Legend Meets Science came together through Matt's creative mind.
Well, and there's so much there. I mean, think of all the stuff in Legend Meets Science. There's the book that goes out, the people could buy the book there, but there was the book that had compiled a lot of that stuff. And then there was the documentaries, the TV, the versions of it. But a place for that would really be kind of on the road at festivals where people are getting together so they can learn really the legit stuff not just like the cartoonish, like whatever the most sensational thing that's going to sell a t-shirt or whatever, but like the scientific part of it.
That would be cool.
Including a big screen in the back of this, vehicle that, you open up almost like a lunch wagon or whatever, where people could see some of the footage that he was talking about so authoritatively. So it's like kind of a rolling testament to Meldrum. It's almost like you're going to a Meldrum presentation. Anyway, I think that they, there's places around the country that probably pay to have that at their festival, especially if it had the statue that the kids could take a picture next to.
Yeah.
Anyway, something to think about, Doug.
Yeah, thanks. Just what I need. That would be, it's definitely needed. It's definitely needed. And I don't know who is going to be the, maybe it's Cliff, who knows Jeff's wife well and can be the liaison.
Yeah, he will be. He will be. And I will tell him that, if you don't build it yourself, I really want you to oversee it, because that's your department.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I was working on a trade show display the other day.
Yeah.
So, Matt, do you have any words?
Well, I'll tell you this. Other than quick, if there was going to be a biopic of Meldrum, some kind of like a movie kind of showing one of the most dramatic and relevant parts of his story, it was when he had started to go public and he was getting a lot of media attention, and he was mentioned certainly in newspapers and stuff across the country in getting a lot more press about this Bigfoot thing than, say, any other professor at that university, at ISU. As a consequence, there rose up, and of course it was driven by one particular guy. There was other scientists who were infuriated by the attention and accolades and how much respect, and just you could tell that what was driving, and they literally tried to drive him out of the university. And this went on for a while, and it was, I don't want to say it was a big scandal, but it was something that was really happening, where there was a push to move him out.
Yeah.
And so in one of the last interviews I saw, he was talking about how there isn't a lot of other people that are in a professor at a university, physical anthropology, kind of seated like he was, to kind of take over the baton. And I think one of the obvious reasons for that is because there still exists this kind of political situation in academics, where if you're a professor that's getting a lot of attention, like for this subject in particular, you are going to get attacked by other people who that attention or funding or whatever else is not going to them. And they don't like that. So they're going to try to put you down and put you out of business. Well, I think that is still there, and that may explain why there isn't several other people to think, okay, who's the next best person to take this on? And that's kind of sad, but and the one thing I'll tell you, I'm hoping maybe your audience can do this, can look, through. He did a lot of interviews, and one of the things he said in that last interview, I wish I could ask him, say, Doug, tell me this story. He was talking about this really unusual series of coincidences that brought him into the subject. He said it was just this strange series of coincidences that put him there. And I was trying to think, okay, what could those have been? Well, and I had to think, okay, he's studying bipedal locomotion. So he's in the scientific business of analyzing the evolution of primates that go from knuckle walking or on all fours to upright. And so I think some of those coincidences were probably driven by the fact that it was known that outside the human line and ancestry, Homo erectus, and everything that came out of Africa that was off that same line that gave rise to humans, outside of that, there was probably no other primate that evolved to be bipedal, which was kind of the key thing, I think, that made their evolution so unique. Once they got bipedal, they could carry a larger brain, just the same thing with humans. You can carry a larger brain if you're balancing it on your head rather than hanging it over. And you can walk through snow, and you can see it, and then the voice box can develop because, again, you're balancing your head on your neck rather than hanging over. So that allows the vocal cords to develop, which is a precursor for them evolving speech. So all sorts of things are happen once you go bipedal as a primate. So anyway, I can only guess now how his background in that bipedalism evolution may have kept bringing him this well, what about Gigantopithecus? What about that line of apes? And how about these footprints that are found all over the place? And I think he was probably in a situation where just like, okay, his field kind of led him to context that kept bringing him back to this mystery. And he got more and more interested in it. And when
how did you meet, Matt? How did you meet Jeff?
It's funny, through the IVBC, which was like when the internet first started happening, like around like when there was a listserv that people were getting on, which would have been about 1993 or 94. The IVBC, which was a listserv, which is, explain that it's like you get on a mailing list and you start receiving these emails from this listserv system, and all the subscribers are getting an email, and when they reply to it, it goes back to everybody else who subscribed on the list. It's like a group chat. Did I lose you?
No, we're here. We're just giving you the middle of the screen, Matt.
Okay, great. So it's like a group chat situation. And so there was a lot of discussion. And of course, every new person who gets on wanted to rehash the Patterson footage. And it was getting so, but new people would come on, and eventually he came on. And he was talking about his background, etc. And I remember at first there was a little tension between him and I, because I think what it was, because at one point I was careful, I didn't want to insult him, but when he was like poo-pooing, thinking, well, there's not really enough evidence or enough like sightings, etc., east of the Mississippi to think that's like, if he was like kind of putting it down, which was a common thing for researchers in the Northwest in that era for so long, because they didn't hear about stuff from back east very often. And so if you only heard about it occasionally, it just doesn't fit with what you'd expect, which would be that, no, they'd be all spread out east of the Mississippi. And of course, now we know they are. So it wouldn't just be like, oh, there's like a couple in Pennsylvania, but then nothing until you get to Colorado. So he said that, and I remember I said, listen, I could use a certain word to describe that position. And of course, the word I was thinking about was ignorant, but I said, I'll be nice and just say uninformed. So him and I got in a tussle kind of back and forth about that. But it wasn't long before I realized, hey, this is a really good ally to have, because he really teaches this stuff, and he's really starting to see some scientific evidence in these casts. So he was chugging along. He was making a name for himself. He was bringing that scientific credibility. And then at one point, I remember there was a Renee DeHinden, who was a very colorful person, let's say, and who would go after his enemies and try to destroy the credibility of various people. And people loved that when he was going after like total quacks, like Eric Beckjord and a few other people who were just, kooks or liars or hoaxers, etc. Can you still hear me? Because I can't see you guys.
Yep, we hear you.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Okay. And then one day, and I had talked to Renee DeHinden on the phone several times. I helped him. He wanted me to have a lawyer write a letter to these certain production companies so he could get paid for use of the Patterson stills. So we interacted a lot, and he was a very entertaining guy. He was very fun to talk to on the phone. Had a lot of stories. But then he called me and said, okay, now we've knocked Beckjord, kind of chased him away. Now we got to go after somebody else, and I need your help to do that. And I said, who do we go after? He says, Jeff Meldrum. And I'm like, Jeff Meldrum? What's wrong with him? And he goes, well, he's saying the Freeman tracks are for real. And the bad thing about Renee was, wanted all the attention to come to the Patterson footage because he'd make money off that. Illegitimately, in my opinion. I don't think he really ever had the rights to the stills. He just bluffed everybody that he did.
Yeah.
And sent this dollar to Bob Gimlin to release any interest in the stills, and then he would kind of hold up to say, oh yeah, Gimlin signed over the rights to the stills. As Gimlin had any rights to sign over. He didn't. He always said that. He wrote, I think he signed something just to make DeHinden go away because he was pestering him so much. Anyway, so he was trying to push out, he wanted to knock down any other footage, especially, and what he told me, he says, he goes, if you get footage and you don't release it through him, will destroy your credibility. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's a psycho. Like, Hinton just making that, like, listen, I mean, just like a mafia boss. You release your footage through me, or I'm going to. Well, with the Freeman footage, he wanted to blow the Freeman footage away. He wanted to make people think it was fake. He didn't like that there was TV shows showing it, and he wanted to say the tracks were fake. And so Jeff, feeling that the Freeman footage was legit, and the tracks from that area were legit, like, made him instantly a mortal enemy of the almighty Renee DeHinton. And so I just said, I don't know. I remember, I can't remember exactly what I said to him, but I just thought at some point, it's like, I got to get off the phone with this guy. This is just crazy. And so I never talked to that. I mean, never dealt with Renee DeHinton after that. And I just thought, this is not legitimate. He's the wrong guy to go after. And that was true. But it showed you, Jeff faced attacks, or I guess, aggression, but, he had adversaries that he didn't really deserve to have, especially if you knew such a great guy, so open, so everything like that. And what he was saying was legit, but he had enemies that didn't like the fact that he was gaining, he was appearing in more media shows, he was getting more attention, and he was becoming an authority. And the more I watched and saw him, the way he presented himself, the more I thought, hey, that's great that there's an authority like that out there, because there's not very many of them. There was John Bindernagel at the time, and Grover Krantz was still around, and Dara Swindler came onto the scene. But it was, Jeff was a professor at a university, and he had a lab. And, if anybody said, well, there's no evidence, to say, if you go to Jeff Meldrum's lab, if you really want to know, and let him show you what he's got and explain the consistencies of these tracks that were found decades apart in different parts of the country, then you'll be persuaded. And there were, of course, many people who went and did that, and they were persuaded that there was indeed a lot of evidence. It just wasn't bones. Anyway, so I think that legacy should be carried on. I think Cliff should take over to have some stuff at his museum. But I think Jeff would be looking down and smiling if he thought that there was a rolling exhibit that can go around at different Bigfoot festivals, now that they are so popular all over the place, to a great degree because of Jeff Meldrum and the legitimacy that he brought to it. But anyway, this was all very sudden, and none of that planning has happened, but I'm glad to be able to plant the seed for it.
Well, thank you, Matt. We got to get you back for an actual show just with you at some point, and we can really get into some really cool history. I even me and you have a lot of funny stories.
Oh yeah.
So it'd be fun to do that. But we've got Alex sitting here. We've got Renee. Alex, is there a way that you can even use any words? I know you knew Jeff well.
It's surreal. I mean, I talked to you about this the other day, Renee. We had a phone call. It's like this constant presence that's been there, this larger than life figure that's no longer there. It's kind of hard to imagine a world without Jeff. And I guess I'll just speak from my experience and as a bit of a younger person, the impact. I've talked to a lot of my friends, 35 and younger, that we all kind of share this feeling. But I grew up watching Jeff on TV. Right, I was a kid of the 90s. I started seeing the Monster Quest, all that stuff that Jeff was on.
Did you see Legend Meets Science with Jeff?
Yes, that might have been the first one. I don't actually remember. I know at my parents' house I have VHS.
And by the way, me and Matt pitched that to everybody we could possibly pitch it to, and it got turned down everywhere.
Yeah,
nobody was interested in it.
But it was so influential, and I went from somebody that Jeff was like a childhood hero, and then over the last 10 years or so, getting to know him and call him a friend, various conferences all over the country, up here on the East Coast and up in Alaska a couple times, got to hang out with him. We did a cruise last year. My wife and I were a couple cabins down from him and his wife, and we would bump into each other going to the mess hall and everything. And I just wanted to share one kind of particular experience. Well, I will say, Lyle talked about his humor, and so did Adam as well, how funny he could be. One of the first times I ever hung out with him was at one of Lauren Coleman's international cryptozoology conferences, and we were going to get a dinner in Portland, Maine. at this lobster restaurant, and there was this wooden carving, and I was trying to find the picture, but this was in like 2017 or 18, a wooden carving of this captain, and he had this big white beard, and it was like a dead on, looked like Jeff Meldrum. So we all said, Jeff, you have to stand next to the captain so we can get a picture. And we got a really hilarious picture, and it was just a great evening. But the one experience I wanted to share with him that really resonated with me and that I saw through many events was how gracious he was with his time. It was just unbelievable. It was the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot conference a few years ago. We were both speakers, and it was one of those VIP Friday night kind of things where the people that pay to come and have dinner with various researchers, investigators, and I happened to be grouped with Jeff. And of course, as I kind of called him, he was the Elvis Presley of the Bigfoot world. A lot of people would come just knowing Jeff was at a conference. There must have been 60 people in line waiting for him. And he would take his time and give each person 5 to 10 minutes engaging in conversation. He didn't just say, oh, yes, yeah. It was a very lively discussion. And this went on all night. And at the end of the night, I was, I'm a young guy, but I'm exhausted. I said, Jeff, how do you do this? He said, well, I just really enjoy talking to these people, and, they come out here and they want to see me. And it really, was amazing because I've run into a lot of people at these events, and some are more gracious than others and some are less. And somebody with, that much popularity and that much respect across the board, I mean, he could say, hey, I don't want to spend that much time, but he was always willing to give his time. And that's something that really resonated with me. And that's something that I've tried to aspire to do as well. And, I never very few bad interactions with Jeff other than, other kind of things with other researchers that maybe happened on the side at some of the Q&As. But man, it was just a blessing to get to know him. And I want to give other folks who have other stories their time. But again, just from a younger person's perspective, he was like that childhood hero that became a friend, and now he's no longer here. And I still can't believe it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're lucky to have known him, and his legacy obviously will never be replaced. But yeah, he's one of the greats, up there with the Four Horsemen. I would even, put a spot in for him with them. But yeah, rest in peace, Dr. Meldrum. And thank you for putting this together, Doug.
Yeah, you're very, very welcome. Thank you for showing up, Alex. And I think we both thought of Jeff as immortal. And yeah. I can't even explain how I just thought he was permanent, like forever, almost taking him for granted.
Yeah. So
and I regret that, of course, greatly. But
well, thanks again, guys. Good to see you, Matt and Renee.
Right, thanks.
Well said, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, very well said.
Good night.
Renee.
Doug.
I bet when was the last time you and Matt talked? It's been a while.
Moneymaker, I sent you a message.
I know.
Overlap.
I was just gonna text you.
Is that what you call him, Moneymaker?
I always call him Money.
Moneymaker.
He's mad. I usually just call him, hey, Money. It's been a hot
sorry
minute.
to get back to you. I actually was, because I don't sleep through the night. Well, I was asleep when he texted me, and then I was scrambling to get ready to do this. So anyway, we'll talk later.
Don't sweat it, brother. Ships in the night. It is. Doug, I just want to say again, to visit with you, when this happened, you immediately came to mind, Matt, Cliff,
Yeah.
And I just want to say a moment to just our entire community, how sad it is to, Lauren and the rest of Jeff's family. We send them all of our love.
Yeah.
He had the health scare. I remember in detail talking about that. When you get a death scare, that's a mixed blessing because you kind of get to say your things to people, and then, you're gone again. As that day came and my phone was blowing up, I don't know all who knew what was going on ahead of time. I had some knowledge, Matt, when you were talking about my last in-person visit with Jeff, we actually discussed, as he's taking those last classes and shifting that and who would be that next academic and having that discussion of whether it was the whole set of casts or what part of it going to Cliff. And I don't want to talk about, how things went down, but as we continued to have conversations, as I built my slides and him and I overlapped on so many things, I loved running things by him. I mean, Doug, you and I were talking about our community has lost a leader, a legend.
Yeah.
He's irreplaceable. But what so many people don't realize is the sounding board.
Exactly. That was one of the traits I loved about Jeff. I could get a stupid diarrhea idea, call Jeff up and tell him about it.
Yeah.
And either he got excited or he didn't, but he still would pause and then he would give you a very thoughtful answer.
When you'd asked me, and I don't know if this is including this, but when you'd asked me to write something up real quick, I immediately think of, when I think of Jeff Meldrum, and to Alex's point, to Lyle's point, to Adam even earlier on, he's a good 15 years older than me. The legend meets science, and seeing him on the shows and being the go-to, as I'm from South Dakota, but I've lived in Seattle more than half of my life. So Grover Krantz was Washington State. So everybody over here, Krantz was still alive. I dated somebody whose dad was one of his students. That kind of stuff was going on. But that's how he was first in my periphery. But it's like I think of an articulate, kind, open-minded, cautious scientist. And I think of the very first time that I met him in person was on Finding Bigfoot. And gleefully, I think of the time when I first met Bob and when I first met Jeff. Matt can maybe speak to this, but I think the guys were kind of like, I think they thought we weren't they're going to hash it out or something. And it was just this, as always, a kind, respectful sounding board. And in that, every interaction with him would be, even though we didn't agree on what Bigfoot is, what Sasquatch is, it would always be this, well, and to Jeff's point, and I would throw it back. And then Jeff kindly and respectfully, well, and to Renee's point, right back at you. Because a lot of people don't realize, my first time through college, I was a physical anthropology major. And, that's what I was before I shifted gears to bears and river science. But it was always a treat for me to nerd out with Jeff over my old major and of course Sasquatch. So, but if I could just take a moment, like for me personally, he's a mentor, a fellow scientist. We're both like driven by this genuine curiosity. And I think as Matt was talking about this later, he really understands that scrutiny and stigma that comes with not just discussing, but researching Bigfoot when you're in the academic community. And he navigated that world with integrity and grace. And to spend time with someone like that, to be able to have that sounding board and nerd out with him, but to also have a mentor or a friend who understood what that meant was always an appreciated comfort, But even though we disagreed, you guys, we could go no matter where we went. I know that we could, buck down on that phys-anth background and really understanding the importance of peer-reviewed, evidence-based inquiry. It made every discussion with him meaningful, thought-provoking, and he would take, he would take that step, and he never got ugly. And then people would attack him, and he always went high.
Yeah.
And some of those last talks of mine, I remember seeing him, I don't know what year that was, way back when because we were filming the show, we didn't have time to go to presentations, but once like Cliff and Bobo were like, Renee, you got to come out and do these. And I finally did. And Jeff and I overlapped. And I can't remember when I saw him, but I've been promoting curiosity, I don't know, 20 years. And I've had citizen science in my corporate presentations when I do my speaking. And I saw Jeff had pulled that in there, and we giggled we were having a meal one night and having drinks, and we've always been these strong advocates for that scientific rigor, data transparency, especially as AIs come in. As he's taken to me, the brunt of putting getting attacked, as Matt pointed out, from people outside the community, but from within the community, and having that sounding board, but just also this voice of calmness. And because we all want to jump, if somebody's dangling a carrot, Jeff might be there to be like, calm it down and run it through and give it. So as a lot of the stuff has been going on, he really that's where him and I overlapped about how do we really get people. It doesn't matter if you have some letters after your name. Citizen science is getting academia, because how long have we been calling out academia to take us seriously? Jeff, myself working in with a lot of people. We need the communities. There's always been within the Bigfoot community such a disdain, to push back at academics, that I think citizen science, he really was on board with me about really raising that, to say to people, let's work together, call for data transparency. We all can be a part of that. So I don't know, but you guys, I think back, I gotta applaud you, Jeff and Doug. It's hard to talk, and it's when you lose a friend, but
yeah,
I'm talking to him, and in very, he's so humble, he's, as I'm trying to thank him for things or talking, he's like, oh, I love your open-mindedness approach, to that, Sasquatch is something beyond, because I will say it's beyond the current reach of science. I may not believe it's a biological species, or there's something else that's there, and we could talk about this. And how did he say this? He pointed out the irony. How did he? Folks think they base an opinion of you on this TV show, this edited TV show, and they don't know you've had all these experiences, and he would surmise that so nicely, and saying that, kind of like, you got a bad rap, I'm paraphrasing here, but I like how he would that chuckle he had, and he would be like, you're wrongly portrayed as a cynic, and we need more skeptics in this world. And he was really on board with that. But I don't know. I appreciate, to what Alex was saying and Lyle earlier, is that of growing as being an enthusiast and somebody who you look up to, a mentor for me as another anthropologist. I just was an honor to have my mentor call me a friend.
Yeah.
And in that moment of, while he's facing these personal challenges, he's turning the tables and he's thinking, this is him. He's like, Renee, thank you for your commitment to scientific inquiry. Thank you for this. You make these contributions. It matters. Don't give up. And, you're doing all that private research. But most of all, he's like, you are honest and keep it real. And he's like, keep him honest, kid. And that's, so as I think about now that he's passed, the way I can honor him, I love Matt's idea. Very much, we got to honor him. And my way of honoring him is to making sure that scientific rigor and commitment is maintained in the community, and that I will keep the people up. The Renee Sayer will be, being the Renee Sayer. Not that it's not real, but the people are keeping it real. Calling them out, taking that over. So, God, I just, there's no replacing him. And I think of all of you, especially, you guys who knew him better than I did. I knew him in a different capacity, but he brought so much to this community, and I just, wherever he is now, I hope he now has all the answers.
That's that. I've heard that comment from several people. Yeah, Jeff now knows all of the answers.
He's got all the answers,
and that could be. Do you think at all that this mystery? I'm going to pose this real quick to both of you before I give you the boot, or you can hang out or whatever. But do you think this mystery is going to be solved in the next 5 years? Is it possible even? Matt, what do you think, Matt?
Well, I've always given the analogy of a dial on a gauge, and with one side of the dial being nobody believes it, and the far other end being everybody believes it. And so I see the Patterson footage and other things kind of moving the dial in the direction of everybody believes it. So I could say this: it's like, what's going to constitute proving it? Is it going to be DNA, not just from one hair samples, but from a bunch of different hair samples in different parts of the country, validated by several scientists, etc.? What Jane Goodall thought would work, like a combination of DNA plus images, plus good photographs or videos, those things in combination would satisfy not everybody, but it would satisfy a lot of the scientific community. So I think those things will continue to happen and kind of push it in the direction. But until like there's like a full skull or a fresh remains, etc., there's still going to be people who are going to come up with rationalizations for why that doesn't add up. And one of the rationalizations is, as they've always said, because Jeff had pointed out at one point that one of the unusual things about this is there's dinosaur species that have been designated just from the footprints that they've left, like not even fossils of their bones or impressions, just based on the tracks that were fossilized. And Renee, is it called ichthyology or some idea of like figuring out the presence of animals from traces they leave behind? And so I thought, and he was saying on that basis, you certainly have something going there. But so what's the difference with Bigfoot stuff? Well, with Bigfoot stuff, part of the pushback is that, well, in theory, this Bigfoot stuff could all have been faked, in theory. So that gives us the excuse to, and that's what differentiates from dinosaur tracks, which, these are fossilized things that are millions of years old, and you can demonstrate that. So you take that part out of it. But then to dismiss the whole thing based on, that's somebody who was people who'd be lazy and not wanting to listen to what Jeff had to say. Because Jeff could point out, it's like, that's ridiculous. We can show that it's really unlikely that all that stuff is fake. So therefore, you should take all that stuff seriously. Okay, so there's that body of evidence, and there's good photographic stuff to go along with it. There's Patterson footage, there's Freeman. There's a few different things that are really kind of unique. But then it's like that brings more people over to it. But one thing that's going to really help is if somebody gets some really good, clear daylight footage that just rocks people's world. And I think that's eventually going to happen too. How many
minutes, Matt? How many minutes to midnight are we on getting better footage with all of the new technology that's becoming available?
I think probably the most likely way that we're probably going to get Bigfoot footage, in other words, the kind of cameras that are out filming all the time that are in dispersion, are actually Ring doorbell cameras. So I tend to think probably the best, most mind-blowing stuff that somebody will come in will be caught on a Ring doorbell in some isolated rural place that a Bigfoot is walking around. I think that's actually more likely than even a trail camera. For various reasons. Trail cameras, they're not as dispersed out in the woods all year round like people tend to think they are. And then when they do, they're on deer paths and they're very visible. I can spot one a mile away and I can avoid it, etc. But something like a Ring camera that's blended into the am I hearing an echo?
Yeah.
I'm hearing some strange echo. Feedback. Yeah, turn off your mic, so the guys, because it's coming back through. Anyway, I can't give you an idea, but I know that more and more stuff, even the final, like, oh my God, we finally have the proof. Even though that might not happen next week, there will still be more people having sightings, more people having encounters. Eventually that will happen with some reporters, and just the consistency of that will tend to persuade more and more people that there's really something out there and it's worthwhile to look into.
I agree. I didn't disagree with anything you said.
Yeah. I am in the other camp. I mean, I'm not in the biological camp. Like I've said, for how long, Matt, I will gladly eat a cold plate of crow. I will come down to, I don't know. I don't think there's a time frame on it. It's to me as a scientist. And I come back to this ironic, one of the last conversations I had with Jeff, he's like the skeptical scientist, and then your belief system is something that is beyond the realm of science. And then hence was so much metaphysical conversations, these amazing sounding boards that were outside of physical anthropology. Because for me, it's nothing in 5 years or Ring cameras or anything. I mean, I recently, here this last June, had an experience on a property. Doug, we kind of talked about this, 30-some year activity. I'm in a house, people are simultaneously hearing something physically making contact against the house. And I have another person outside in a tent. and line of sight, they don't see anything. There's nothing on the camera. So things are happening. I don't know, you know. So I'm dealing with, you know, what do you want to call paranormal? I don't care. I mean, I hate, you know, what I want everybody to remember is that Jeff and I, as two people, he's obviously a doctor of, but I have a deep physical anthropology background. Two scientists can sit down and be open-minded to have a conversation with, okay, these trackways that go across a dry lake bed and then just disappear. How do we explain that then?
Yeah.
Or these experiences that I am having that cannot be explained biologically alone.
Yeah.
So how long will it be? I don't know. I just hope that our community can honor him by being kind to each other. And that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you so much, Renee.
Yeah.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Amy. Hi,
Appreciate it.
you guys. Good seeing you all.
Yeah, good seeing
Hi.
you.
And
And
thanks
there's,
again, Doug and Jeff, for doing this.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Are you going to take off, Matt, too?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave room for the group here.
Unless
Yeah,
you,
but
if you want me to stick around, I will.
Yeah, go ahead. I think Bubba's coming on here soon, if he isn't already in the back room.
We say go ahead. You want me to stick around?
No, yeah, stick around.
Okay.
Do you want us to both stick around, or
Sure, you can. I want you guys to do what you want to do.
Okay, well, let us know if you're trying to get people in the room, because I would
No.
love to say hi to both.
No, I'm not. As long as I'm not seeing people trying to get in,
Okay.
which I'm not, we're okay.
Yeah, it pops up when someone's trying to get knocked.
Yeah, it lets
We're
us
good right
know.
now.
So, Ken, how
Good
are
evening,
you,
all.
my friend?
Well, kind of bummed out like everyone else. It's
Yeah.
been, pretty rough couple of days. So, but there's not much I can say that hasn't been said already. I mean, he was a truly brilliant man. I often told people I had opportunities to sit next to him at conferences many times, and I always told everyone that my Bigfoot IQ was just, I could feel it like elevating because I would eavesdrop on his conversations, and I was just like, wow. Brilliant man, consummate gentleman, always gracious, willing to take the time to speak to anybody about, even people he disagreed with, as Renee said. And I saw him spend lots of time explaining the evidence over and over again to anyone that would, come up and approach him. I like what Alex said earlier, that he was the Elvis of the field. I've used that term too. Last year, I saw a conference attendees fighting over the right to drive him to the hotel. And one time at a conference, he was selling used T-shirts Bigfoot T-shirts that he had worn. And I was like, Jeff, did you wear these? And he's like, well, yeah, I washed them, of course, but I've got so many Bigfoot shirts that I figured I would just, sell them and make a little extra money. So I thought, okay, well, and then people were clamoring over his used Bigfoot shirts. But so I saw Jeff, obviously, I've been a Bigfoot nerd for many decades, but I saw him in the late 90s appearing on different TV shows. Then I finally met him in 2005 at the Texas Bigfoot Conference, and I had the honor of getting to know him over 20 years, worked with him a lot, different conferences and other things, and which led to many great meals together and car rides and just different opportunities. But I guess the one thing I'll say is that since I don't have a lot of good anecdotes. I mean, he would tell me funny stories, like how Eric Beckyard would call him at 3 a.m. and, start ranting on the phone. And I'm like, Jeff, why did you answer it? But again, total gentleman. But we did have breakfast together last year at a hotel, and it was a good long breakfast, great conversation. He actually told me the whole history and story of how he went through academia, the whole process in every school and what he, and I think Matt was talking about this earlier, but I remember him saying that, after he returned from his mission, which of course was a component of his faith, he was at Brigham Young, I believe. And for whatever reason, when you're going through school, and I guess he was interested in medicine, and then anatomy was the first thing that really caught his attention. So he was studying anatomy and really loving that. But at some point when an opportunity at another university came up, or actually I should say that, there's a lot of competition for, you can kind of put the feelers out, I guess, and figure out what universities are looking for what and what departments he could excel in. And so I think this was when he went to Duke for a year, and he was studying at Duke, that he actually, one of his superiors told him, hey, go to the library and just kind of see what grabs your attention. And he walked into the library and he says he picked up a book on physical anthropology, and it kind of brought back these memories from when he was a kid. Everyone knows he went and saw Roger Patterson show the film when he was in 5th grade at the Spokane Coliseum. But he opened up a book on anthropology, and he was just captivated looking at these images of like Australopithecines and Homo erectus and all these ancient fossil hominins. And that was just kind of the direction he went, I guess, for his PhD, because he figured, there was a need at particular universities for that kind of expertise. And of course, later on, he focused on a very specific area of bipedalism and stuff. So anyways, great loss for the field.
Yeah.
I've always been a devout Crancian ever since I've been into this stuff. So I kind of considered Meldrum like the next, kind of the apostle.
Well, yeah, it was perfect timing, really, when Grover kind of retired and then Jeff took over. But we don't have anybody in the wings, do we? Or do we? Do we, Matt? Maybe there's somebody or somebody Renee.
Jeff had mentioned some names. There's some up and comers. I don't feel comfortable to repeat that. I don't know.
That gives us hope, because I'm not aware of,
Now, in terms of up and comers?
Yeah.
Yeah, in that last interview, I posted it on our Facebook group, where he was saying that he would often be asked, how do I get there? But he was lamenting that there wasn't really any obvious person that could kind of take on that baton.
Right.
And he said, Cliff knows everything, but Cliff isn't basically saying Cliff's not an academic, so it doesn't have the same potential. And that was so good, I guess for the Bigfoot community, is because when people would ask, like, well, there are any like legitimate any academic scientists that take this stuff seriously, you could always point to Jeff Meldrum. And if you go further back in time, you could also point to Bindernagel and to Krantz, etc. But as they all dropped off, Jeff was kind of the last person, and he really represented that professorial sort of academic who could speak to kind of all these things. And there's not anybody that I've heard of that he mentioned he thought was very impressive. I think there will be, again, at some point when it becomes a little bit more acceptable, but there isn't anybody around right now. But thankfully, there's a lot of interviews with Meldrum, you know what I mean, where his presentations were recorded. He did so many interviews, etc., and he gave this book. So what he had to say on this subject is still out there. And it's documented, and it can still be presented. He did a hell of a lot more of that. Krantz did a lot, but Meldrum did way more than him.
Yeah.
Way more than Bindernagel, way more than all of them. And it is documented. It is there for people to refer to, and it's never going to become obsolete. All the basic things he pointed out about the tracks and the bipedal locomotion, that stuff will still be relevant for a long time.
I think we're also going to have, 2 points is the Petri dish is much smaller. Like I said, I'm about 15 years younger than Jeff. I think I'm doing the math, maybe 12 or so. As I was a physical anthropology major, it was already being limited. It was cleaving into biocultural and forensics. So you just by pure numbers have less physical anthropologists in the world. So not to say that we aren't going to have academics. There's going to be some overlap of physical anthropology, but with some other type of science that is emerging. I mean, you can see that a lot of these are changing, and we need to be open with that. We need to be welcoming, and we need to be inviting to bring those people to our community to continue on with what Jeff's doing. So,
well, that's a good segue to Amy, because that is exactly what Amy Boo does. She brings together scientists. Amy, welcome.
Hi, Doug. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you.
This is a sad day, isn't it?
Yes,
I'm
it
feeling
is.
all kinds of feelings right now.
Yeah. It's been a
hi,
tough week.
everybody.
Hi, Amy.
It's been a really tough week. I I'm here kind of as a representative for both Project Zoobook and the Olympic Project. Was talking to Shane Corson earlier and talking about how we both took off to the woods in different parts of the country because we were both so sad about Dr. Meldrum, and it's tough. It's really tough. I was wondering, Doug, can I read something that the first scientists that I spoke to and my co-founder for Project Zoobook wrote up that she wanted me to read?
Please.
And it kind of goes with what we were just talking about, wanting so badly for scientists who are interested to be able to speak freely about their interest and about how we want to be the Olympic Project and Project Zoobook, and now the Appalachia Project want to be part of this circle of people who could never fill Dr. Jeff. He always told me to call him Jeff, but I can't do it. Dr. Meldrum, Dr. Jeff's footsteps, but to try to carry a torch kind of for him, but so many of them are still, like Renee, you were talking about, are still not able to, because whether you're talking about funding or their jobs, not being super happy or super pleased to have their scientists, studying this topic. I'm going to read this because she does it better than I could.
Okay,
Yeah.
do that. Hang on just 1 second, though. Jeff,
Sure.
Go ahead and bring 3 more people up from backstage. And then I want Amy to read the...
All right, just in the order they're here. I'll bring up Jason, David, and Abe.
Here we go. All right, guys, welcome. But go ahead, Amy.
Okay. This is Anne, and she's a primate zoologist, and she was the first scientist that she and I were talking. It started with her group of primate zoologists and primatologists at their zoo back in 2018, and it just kind of kept growing. So there are a lot of academics that are interested. It's just a matter of how public can they be, and we just want to keep going with Dr. Bindernagel and Dr. Meldrum's hope that it's going to be less taboo in the future. So here's what she said. I just hope he knew how appreciated he is and will always be, not only for everything he was able to accomplish, but for all of us and so many others in the Bigfoot community who live in the shadows, not by choice, but by necessity. Dr. Meldrum had the courage to speak honestly to a community that never really wanted to hear him. He was the truest definition of a scientist, and we will miss him. I'm trying not to cry, but Renee, you were kind of speaking to, it wasn't just people in academia that were against him, but a lot of people in the Bigfoot community too. And that's a shame. And I hope that changes, that people with all different kinds of ideas can at least talk to each other and stop thinking that they know everything. So Dr. Meldrum would be the person that could have acted like that, and he never did.
Right.
So I personally am going to miss him terribly. Like Shane said, there's a big hole. In the Olympic Project, he would drop everything to go help them. And with Project Zoobook, I emailed with him, talked to him on the phone all the time. He came on when he could, but he was so busy, But if there was a new scientist that wanted to join us, I would run them by him. And he was excited, and he would ask me, who do you got? What are they doing? Can I have their email? And he is never going to be replaced. But I just wanted to offer a little bit of hope that there are academics, there are scientists who are very interested out there. And you guys here all know that. The public might not know that. But let's keep making it less taboo so they can speak up as well.
That's well said. And Amy, I mean, the world of Bigfoot owes you a lot, because what you're doing is really amazing. It took a lot of courage too to do what you're doing, to gather all these people up, and you've managed to just keep everybody, you keep a schedule, and you just keep plodding forward, and you keep adding new people. So you're making great progress.
So you have to come back on.
I couldn't hear.
Thank you for including me here. It's a real honor.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you. We really appreciate it. Abe, didn't you have Dr. Jeff booked at your conference this October?
Not this October.
You
He was
did?
here
Okay.
past October.
Yes.
And
Well, this is Abe Del Rio from the Minnesota Bigfoot Research Team.
everyone.
Who was good friends with Jeff.
You know, as Alex was saying, being in between the 60s and you know the 30-year-olds, being in that, also watching him growing up on TV and everything like that, and having that surreal moment when I finally had the opportunity to meet Jeff. And it's, you know, it's like when you're watching wrestling and you found out Hulk Hogan passed away, you were like, oh my gosh, you know, Dr. Meldrum was that Hulk Hogan, like, oh my gosh, he was the immortal Dr. Meldrum, so to speak. You know, he was absolutely a pillar of science and a wealth of information. There's this one time we were sitting around in Michigan, at the West Branch, Michigan Bigfoot days. This was probably back in 2013 now. And we were just sitting around and we were just talking about the different, somebody asked if Bigfoot has different chambers like ungulate would. And he goes, we really don't know. You know, it would take different things to break down different foods to sustain itself and get its nutrients and stuff. And I was just like, oh, right away, my mind was blown. But, you know, I just talked with Jeff this past July from Reamer, Minnesota. We were doing the Reamer Bigfoot Festival that's going on. And just to kind of catch up, because somebody said that they were working with him. So I'm like, yeah, right. So I called Jeff, and this guy was like, oh, sorry. You know, I just, he had to kind of double back out of that. I was like, yeah, okay, that wasn't going to find out. So I called him. I was like, no, Jeff, this guy's, you know, he's name bombing. He's like, no, I don't know who he is. So, but my most funniest moment with Jeff was actually just this past October at the MBC. And after the conference, a few of us went out to Reamer, Minnesota. It was him, I, and Scott Nelson, cryptolinguist. And on our ride back, Jeff is sitting next to me in the passenger seat, and we hear, and him and I, we look at each other. And I look back real quick, and Scott's kind of passed out, so we have a good chuckle like that.
So Jeff was sleeping.
No, Scott Nelson was asleep.
Oh, Scott was sleeping.
Yeah, Scott was asleep. Me and Jeff, we looked at each other, and we kind of had a chuckle in a moment like that, and some words were exchanged, and we kind of laughed.
Scott's kind of a funny guy too.
and then I'm driving, you know, and it got real silent. And I look over at Jeff, and he's nodding out himself, and I don't know if it was my company or what, but you know, we had an action-packed weekend. These guys, Jeff was an absolute trooper when it came to his time, as somebody once mentioned, and he would, I believe it was Alex, that he would give everybody that would come to his table as much time as he could, but he wanted to fit everybody that come to his table in and give them that time. And he wasn't like hurrying up just to sign or anything like that. He really engaged in conversation. He was, you know, he was a great mentor. He was a great friend. I'd call and confide in, and like you know, you said you'd have ideas and pop off of them, and I also pop some things off. And it was just such a shock, just such a tremendous loss. He was a friend to all of us, a mentor to a lot of us, somebody we all could talk with very easily, and he was just such a given man all the way around. And how he did it and conducted his research, that type of research, that scientific discipline, needs to be withheld throughout the Bigfoot community. It absolutely needs to be withheld throughout the Bigfoot community on how you enter any kind of a possible research area. You know, you have to kind of treat it like a crime scene. It has to be conducted. You have to watch out so you don't contaminate the evidence, if there is anything that is out there. You know, you can't just be going off of theories and thoughts. You have to collect the data. The proof is going to be in the data, and all of that has to be scrutinized. And that's what exactly he did. That's exactly what Dr. Meldrum did. And we need more people looking at things the way he looked at them. And we need more scientists to come forward and not be getting in fear of scrutinized either, so we can further this field of research and have the answers. And Dr. Meldrum was absolutely leading the way. Absolutely leading the way.
Thank you, Abe. I really do appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure. He was a great.
Really lost her both. We have to give you the boot because I've got Esteban Sarmiento, who you know. He's
Another good friend.
Yes, and I've got Esteban I want to bring in, and I can't because we got too many people.
Kick me out.
Yeah, I'm going to kick you out because you won't get mad at me.
No, I just love your eggs.
Doug, I'm going to have to go too. I'm an hour longer than I thought I was going to be now.
Okay, Matt, thank you for coming on. Thanks, Abe. We're going to try to get, we got more people to get on. And we will talk soon to both you guys.
Very good. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks, Matt. All right.
Can I just say real quick, and I know he was saying withhold, but he was meaning upholding.
Yes, I know.
Saying that. Upholding scientific, and thank you, Abe, for saying that.
Okay, we got Esteban. Let's let Esteban in.
There he is. Welcome.
He's at the bottom. There he is.
How's it going?
Thank you, Esteban, for waiting.
Hey, I've been waiting here since 8 o'clock. What the hell's the matter with you guys?
That's good. I'm glad.
Jesus
it's good punishment
Christ.
for you. It's good punishment for
I want to go to sleep.
That's Esteban.
Anyhow, this is Esteban Sarmiento. Esteban is also a scientist. He is an anthropologist, and he worked for the American Museum of Natural History for many years. And he was in Legend Science, #1.
Yeah, well, I guess aside from Bigfoot, Jeff was a colleague of mine. So we wrote papers on things other than Bigfoot.
Right.
And I guess everybody knows Jeff had an interest in can you hear me now? Am I in? Yeah.
Yep, you're good.
Yeah.
Jeff had an interest in footprints, not just Bigfoot footprints, but other footprints. So we wrote a couple of papers on footprints. He also worked on the feet of primates. So we had written a paper on feet, and we also worked with some fossils. And I think there's a paper of Ardipithecus that me and him wrote together. And actually, all in all, it's almost 10 papers that I wrote with him. It's really quite a lot. And I guess, I could say I was shocked when it happened, but at our age, it's sort of expected, You don't know if you're going to live 5 years more or you're going to live 30 years more.
Yeah.
And things can come to an end tomorrow.
Yeah.
As they did with Jeff.
I was introduced to you by Jeff.
Were you?
Yes. Don't you remember?
No.
Jeff is the one that introduced us.
Yeah, I knew Jeff. I met Jeff in the Patagonia in Argentina. And there was some guys in bicycles wearing suits. And I said, those are your Mormon friends. And, I said, they're elders. And when the guys came by, I said, you guys must be from Salt Lake. And I said it in English, and, they were in Argentina, so they didn't expect anyone to talk in English to them, and especially not with a New York accent. So they were a bit surprised. And obviously, Jeff wasn't that surprised because he probably had figured out, too, that they must be Mormons, or why else would they be there wearing suits and riding bicycles? They're elders. Anyway, I can just say.
So you've known Jeff for a long time, since
for a long time.
Yeah.
I can say one thing is he was very honest, and he was also very straight. And it really was a big joke when they stopped us at the border.
Oh, yes. You're going to tell that story?
Oh, well, it's it's just so funny.
It was funny.
That of all the people, they would say Jeff had the cocaine in the mirror. I mean,
Look, okay, we have to preface this a little bit.
How stupid. Well, they didn't search me. They searched Jeff. I don't know if you remember, like I had like a Glad bag full of plaster, but the powder, so it looked like it was Coke, you know?
Yeah.
And I told those guys, you know, it's a shame they didn't stop me last week when I had the real kilo of cocaine.
Yeah, right.
And I remember those guys,
kidding.
like when I came back, they wanted to search me, but I had already gone through the border before. But they searched Doug, they searched a Meldrum, they searched Doug's son. Anyway, with Meldrum, they looked through his stuff and they said this little mirror, I guess it's one of these mirrors you use like in the morning to cut your beard or whatever so you can see. And they said it had traces of cocaine. So from then on the trip, he was known as Dr. Coke.
and see, Jeff had just bought that little shaving mirror for.
Well, he said that. We're supposed to believe that, Doug, huh? Wink, wink. We're supposed to believe that.
I told the Canadian authorities, I said, the man doesn't even drink coffee or tea.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't drink liquor. He doesn't smoke. He certainly ain't doing cocaine.
No, but he confessed that he'll have a Mountain Dew if he's feeling sleepy in the car.
Oh, okay. Well,
you know, Mountain Dew is like the highest caffeine drink.
I didn't even know he did that, but I know we were at that border a long time.
Yeah, that was, anyway, it was funny. You know, it was worth it for the story.
Jeff and me, and just confess where all this drugs are, and we'll let you guys go, and we'll be easy.
And Dr. Bombanek, remember Bombanek?
Yeah, Bombanek.
He was good fun too.
Yeah,
it was a good group.
It was a good group. Yeah,
yeah,
it was fun. But yeah,
anyway,
it was
things don't last forever.
No, well, that's one way to look at it. All good things do come to an end, including two of us. That's one thing.
Anyway, I'm happy that I knew Jeff.
Yeah,
and you know, aside from the stories, and I always used to poke a little bit at him, you know. Not just for my fun, but also, you know, for the attention of everybody. So, like if we were at a meeting, and you created a little bit of discussion with Jeff, it would make people, you know, stand up and listen. So he was always good at, you know, in that respect.
Yeah, he was.
So sometimes I kind of made arguments a little bit greater than they were. So, you know, you get a little bit of a kick from the crowd and that sort of thing.
Like he was the kind of guy, he could be in a room full of cigarette smoke and he never complained. He was just that kind of guy.
He wasn't a complainer.
Yeah, he never complained about anything ever. He was awesome that way. So, okay, hang on a second. Jason, sorry, I'm not trying to ignore anybody. I see everybody, and I've got Carl Sup yet. I've got Rusty. We can see y'all. We're going to get you on. I appreciate your patience.
I can go now, unless you know somebody wants to engage me more. I can go.
You can go. We don't care.
Go to sleep.
Yeah.
That's the bomb.
Go to sleep.
Yeah, because I'm kind of sleepy poo, huh?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not as young as I used to be, and I didn't sleep a nap today.
Yeah, no, but we're glad you came. Jeff's glad you came.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And so what are your last words to Jeff?
I don't know. We were I think I saw him in, was it June or May?
We
came to New Jersey.
We saw Jeff in Ohio.
No, I saw him afterwards. He came to New Jersey to give a talk.
Oh, okay.
And we were talking about the Chinese fossils because they had a reinterpretation of their dates that really don't jive that well with their morphology. So I was asking him about that, you know. Anyway, that's the last thing. And then I told him, you know, I'd see him in 2 weeks, that we were supposed to have a meeting in New York. And he was supposed to be there, but he's not going to be there now.
Yeah.
I think in Johnston, New York, there's a meeting.
Conference, yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Thank you, Esteban. We love
you. You guys have a good night, huh?
Thanks, man.
Take care.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
All right, Jason. Tell us your
I cannot believe you're having me follow that story.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
I will say, so let me start by saying this. Dr. Meldrum and I were not friends. Like we weren't like we'd spoken plenty of times, many times. He was always very cordial. He was always very warm. I loved talking with him. But our relationship was. He probably would he would be like, oh, it's that guy, like that's it. So I don't. All my stories would be remarkably boring, and probably everyone who's ever spoken with him would have a very similar story. What I will say though is I don't think I've ever told you this. So my archaeology professor was actually a student of Dr. Krantz. So I'm sort of academically a grandchild of Grover Krantz, and so this was so I heard all of those stories about Krantz before I ever got into Bigfootery at all. And when I sort of fell backwards into all this, I found Dr. Meldrum, and I was looking at his work, and I remember reading a paper that he did on the morphology of the Patterson Gimlin film, right, where he broke it all down. Sorry, I'm having to keep my mind straight on this one. On the proportions of the bones and the structure, and as an artist, I was making the same conclusions. I was having the same thoughts, and it just struck me that here was somebody doing really good work in this field, and he stood out as a jewel in this community, as someone who was showing us how to do the work correctly. And so what I would like to say is less who's the next Jeff Meldrum, but rather that we should all become the next Jeff Meldrum. We all need to up our game, and not just the people on this side of the camera. I'm talking to everyone watching the show, everyone who's ever going to watch this show. We have the opportunity right now to take what he did and really call us to a better line of work. I know, Doug, you and I've had this discussion a lot. Renee and I are probably Ms. Holland. I don't know her. I don't want to be like familiarity. We're probably more on the same wavelength on that. But that having been said, I still think better science. If we're all doing better science, if we're all out there saying, how would Jeff Meldrum do this? How would Dr. Meldrum approach this? If we brought all of that sincerity, that honesty, and that level of commitment to the game, I think we will have that answer, whatever that answer is. And not just in the realm of Bigfoot, but all of cryptozoology and the paranormal. We can bring that level of commitment, that level of sincerity. I think we will start to really genuinely unravel a lot of these mysteries and have better conversations to come to much better conclusions. So it's not really a story, but rather a challenge I would like to bring to everyone. It's time. We don't need to look for the next Dr. Meldrum. We need to be the next Dr. Meldrum.
That's well said.
Yeah.
But on that note, I will take my leave because I do want other people to come up and tell their stories and just talk about this great man and eulogize him appropriately. I will see all of y'all next time.
Thanks, Jason.
Bye, Jason.
Bye, kid.
Do you know Jason, Ken?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're both from Texas.
We're from Texas. Yep. Yep. Met him a few years ago. Well, it's probably been a lot longer than that now. Time flies, right? But fellow Texan.
All right, who's got their mic on, Jeff?
Who's making noise back there?
Who's making the noise? If you're not called on, turn your mic off, or the mic gods will get you. So we're gonna get everybody going here. Who do we got next? David Ellis.
We got everybody on the screen now. Everybody's
up. I love
everybody
it.
That's
We got Val.
on the screen.
We got Val, who I had a great conversation with this morning. We got Rusty, and we got Renee. Hi, Renee. I just thought maybe that was a cardboard cutout of you.
It's the real deal.
One of your Hollywood cardboard cutouts. You just stuck it there in front of the camera. David.
Yes.
I know you knew Jeff obviously very well. I know you were friends with Jeff.
Yeah, we talked. I would say probably at least 3 times a year. I don't know what's going on.
Well,
Can you
hold
hear
on,
me?
hold on, David. We're getting bleed through of somebody's mic. There we go. Jeff, you got everything under control?
Yep, I think so.
Okay, go ahead, David. Sorry.
Yeah, I can just echo everything everybody said about him being a kind, gentle man and always taking time to talk to you, regardless of what it was that was on your mind. I think one of the things that for me is the undeniable fact that he brought legitimacy to looking into the Bigfoot phenomenon. His acumen, his ability to see things that other people didn't in the footprints and be able to explain that is a testament to his ability to defend a position. Once he convinced himself that there was legitimacy in the footprints, he was all in. And when a man like Jeff is all in, it's very, very hard to argue with him. I mean, he took it to the nth degree and would always rebut people's rebuttal. So he knew what he was talking about. He brought that legitimacy and made it.
But he did it in such a nice way.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, an argument with Jeff would be like just two guys whispering.
Right. No, he quite often I would show him some things and he would go, no, that's not what we're looking for. And I would go, oh, dang. So he would teach me, how to vet evidence. And I was thankful for that. Always true to his ideals. He never wavered. So again, that's what makes it credible for us to be out in the field looking for Bigfoot. One of the things that I also thought about is that he was at just about every Bigfoot conference that was made available to him. And I know through recordings and through shows, his ideals and his methodology are going to live on forever. Nobody's mentioned yet the relic hominid inquiry. That's still up and that's still running, and that's still going to go strong. So we can teach ourselves quite a bit from what he has done. I can speak to that sense of humor. I don't know, Jeff, did you get? I sent you an email that had a cartoon.
Yep, give me one
second. It might be fun to throw that up. Everybody here know who Don Martin from Mad Magazine was?
Well, I know Mad Magazine, but...
Ever heard of Gary Larson?
No.
Gary Larson, The Far Side?
No. Well, yeah, I know that cartoon, yes.
Okay, so I kind of mashed two cartoons together, and it's showing one of Don Martin's characters, and they would always have kind of floppy feet. And he always had him walking in kind of a compliant gait. And so I showed Jeff this picture of him when he was like maybe 10 or 11 years old reading Mad Magazine and looking at that and going, say, wait a minute, people don't walk that. So it's and he got quite a kick out of that. So that's just the kind of the funny side of Jeff. He was a real guy.
Yeah. Oh, his sense of humor was so neat.
So
absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I'm going to bow out. There's lots more to say, but there's lots of people here that want to say something else.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you so much, David.
David.
Thank you
the work you're doing in sound
Jeff,
is amazing. David is going to be launching a podcast, I believe, on this network.
Yes.
Called Unknown Sounds, and him and Johnny Manson are going to end up with a really cool podcast that's going to be very educational and very scientific coming up soon. So,
all inclusive. It'll include anybody that wants to help.
Yeah. So
Well,
anyhow,
David, give me a ring, please. Cause
All right, Renee.
I've been back out there. I was working with Alex a little bit, and we were talking a lot about what you're doing. So
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
also gonna make. I know you're saying it's cool to stay on, guys, but I just love you all. Thank you again, Doug and Jeff, for doing this. And David, I look forward to hearing from you. And I'm
Okay,
gonna
thanks, Renee. Alrighty.
Bye. Bye, David.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Dave.
There we go. All right. Let's see. Rusty, you've been too patient. But I know you, and I know how patient you are, so that's why you got to wait last.
I do the best
Almost
I can.
last. Oh, Val, we got Val. But go ahead and just, lay out what you're thinking about.
Well,
Jim.
sure. So, my relationship with Jeff Meldrum was perhaps a little different than most people here, at least initially it was, in the sense that I approached him more as a colleague than as a Bigfoot person initially. So I'm an MD, and I'm a gynecologic oncologist by training. So I treat women I just retired recently, treat women who have pelvic cancers. So one of my research interests, as far as that goes, was in the effect of radiation and chemotherapy on bipedal locomotion or walking in women. So I started searching for that way back in the early 90s, I guess it was. And this one name kept coming up, and that was Jeff Meldrum at Idaho State, who, I had no idea who he was at the time. Anyway, so I figured, okay, I'll reach out to him and we can talk about this, figure out, if he can answer some of my questions, so forth. So I did. And it turned out he was very nice. We had a fair amount in common. He and I were almost exactly the same age. He and I were almost exactly the same point in our academic careers. And we had both seen the Patterson-Gimlin film at 10 years old in the initial theatrical run, and had kind of an interest in that. So it kind of blossomed from there. So we went back and forth about various things, and I would ask him, I had some ideas about, what I thought certain parts of the creature in the Patterson-Gimlin film were a source of. And so he would critique me and, shoot me down. Good, shoot me down. I needed to be shot down. But anyway, we finally kept saying, we're going to get together one of these days, because we traveled a fair amount for work, for academic stuff. But it never, I never went to Pocatello, who work-wise goes to Pocatello. And he kept saying he wanted to come to see me in New Orleans, but we just couldn't work it out until about 5 years ago. I managed to break free from another meeting and go over to Pocatello and see him, met him in his lab. And we talked for a good while. Actually, my wife and I both went over and met him. And he also, along the way, and at that time, talked to me about actually what Matt Moneymaker was saying about how his academic career had been impacted by his interest in the Bigfoot phenomena. He, like I said, started out about the same time I did, but he was denied academic promotion for a number of years and denied pay raises and denied research funding from his department. In fact, there were individuals within the institution that, and I won't say who, but they actively tried to get rid of him because of that. Well, he survived all of that. And he and I would talk about the sort of the trials and tribulations of academic politics, which are at least as bad as national politics. And so he finally made it to full professor level, but many years after he should have, honestly. And we were talking about family because he had, I think it was 6 children. I had 4. So we both had lots of kids. So we would talk about that and many other things in addition to Bigfoot. He was very good, and he was funny. That everybody's mentioned that. So, like I said, he and I were almost exactly the same age. So one time I was talking to him, and he was on it was like a conference call, and he had 2 or 3 of his, I guess they were grad students or something on, were listening also. And we were both online. We both had our faces online, and he mentioned something about being my age, and he mentioned to his grad students in that deadpan manner that he had, I used to look young like that too. everybody laughed at that, so we got a big kick out of that. Anyway, and I actually talked to him after he had the health scare when he was on the cruise last year. We talked a little bit about that, and I tried to kind of talk him through the medical aspects of that. But I had not heard about this most recent issue, the brain cancer. So I don't have any information about that. This was all news to me, when we all heard that he had died. So at any rate, yeah, he was a colleague, a friend, fellow Bigfoot enthusiast for a variety of reasons, and I will miss him, to be honest. I didn't know him maybe as well as some other people here, but he was a good guy. He had an open mind as an investigator, which unfortunately in academics these days, that can be a rare characteristic. So I am terribly disappointed that he's gone, and hope that we all see him again someday.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that I've seen a lot of pictures with you and Jeff together at various conferences, and I know you're a PhD. Have you ever thought about trying to apply your skills as a medical doctor to this mystery on some level?
Boy, he and I talked about that, because I would ask.
I've got ideas for you, Rusty.
Oh, okay, all right, I'm listening. I actually formally retired last year, which Jeff and I talked about too. I said, man, how long are you gonna keep doing this? And there were, for a lot of reasons, he wasn't ready to retire. But at any rate, he and I would talk about that. How could you come at this from another academic background?
Yeah.
And at some points he would get discouraged, because he had grad students who would come to him and say, listen, I really like what you've done with Bigfoot. How could I make that an academic career myself? And he would be very frank with them and say, if you make an academic career of Bigfoot, you're in a way, you're kind of sabotaging yourself. His advice to them was to get their degree, their PhD, their emphasis, their thesis on something related, but not directly Bigfoot. In other words, like bipedal locomotion or something. And then pick up the Bigfoot end of it after that, because it will be very difficult, even to this day, to be accepted in an academic or university setting if you come across as the Bigfoot scientist. It's very hard to do it. So how would you do it as an MD? One thing MDs have, we have a little bit more protection, because, we could walk away from it and generate money, ourselves, whereas PhDs can't necessarily do that. So we have a little more, leverage, in a sense, over, the academic communities than the pure PhDs do. So, MD could do that. At age 67, I don't know how much I'm going to do that, but although I'm willing to listen to.
I've got the perfect thing for you.
All right.
I'm not joking. It's absolutely perfect. And it's right in your area of expertise. So we need to talk.
All right. Yeah.
So
I'd be happy to. We'll talk all here. Sure.
So thank you so much, Rusty. You can hang out or whatever.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Well, I love listening to everybody.
Yeah. Hang out. John Badger and Val. Val's in Michigan. John, you're in Minnesota. Let's get you guys front and center. Val, I don't know if you even knew Jeff. Maybe you did.
No, I didn't. I didn't have the opportunity. But
he's had a
to meet
huge
him.
effect on you, because
yes,
you're like this scientific guy.
Well, it's interesting to sit here and, first of all, hello everybody. My name is Val. I'm from Michigama. I guess that's what the Native Indians used to call Michigan.
Yeah.
Michigama.
Yeah.
But from the Great Lakes State, I listened to the all-star panel that you had here. People are wondering, where's the next Jeff Meldrum coming from? Right there. I'm looking at him. Every one of these individuals, men and women in secession that step up here, listen to these people. These are the ideas. This is what it's all about. It's bringing your ideas. It's bringing your personal, unique skills to the forefront here. Everybody's got a hand in this game. Everybody does. Everybody's got a skill. Everybody's got a certain experience base that they bring to this. One of the gentlemen were talking about, they were talking about looking at Jeff. I call him Dr. Meldrum. I got this thing about addressing people with distinction, especially like this. It's a professional distinction that he earned. So Dr. Meldrum, according to this gentleman that you just had on from Minnesota, Doug, you just had him on here. He says that you look at these sites like a crime scene. Really, even a person that studies drama and artistry, people that study that, and I love the arts, I do. They teach these students very early on about motifs, about patterns, and that's what I look at as a former law enforcement investigator. That's exactly what I look at. I look at patterns. People need to look at patterns. And somebody else was talking about footprints and stuff. I sat back and developed 4 or 5 databases, and I'm looking at data points and data sets. And what I'm looking for is patterns. And to me, this is incredible stuff. Everybody in every state, province that's involved in Bigfootery should be doing this. Everybody should.
Okay, but Val, so what's cool with you is you apply your police. Val was a police officer and an investigator and detective, and so he applies those skills to looking at the data. To you apply it to eyewitnesses, I would imagine, locations, kind of that crime scene that Abe was talking about.
Exactly.
So he's kind of the Jeff Meldrum of crime. Applied to the Bigfoot mystery.
Well, I didn't have a PhD. I graduated from Central Michigan University, the poor man's Harvard.
Yeah.
So, everybody that comes into this realm has their own skill, their own experiences to lend to this community.
True.
And for that purpose, I'm so gracious and so honored to have known Dr. Jeff Meldrum, because I was captivated by his intellect.
Yeah.
Seriously. This guy had so much to give.
Oh, he was so brilliant.
And for the short time that I was familiar with him, listen, I take that as a blessing. It was a treasure, and for that reason, I say rest in peace and Godspeed. That's what I got to say about this. It's been a long, terrible roller coaster week for me of emotions. It's been
a rough week.
I've never experienced anything like this before, and I've been to plenty of funerals, and I've eulogized many services and stuff, and
I can relate.
It's just something that just doesn't it doesn't bode well with me.
By the way, Jeff, before I forget, bring Michael Shuey. I don't think he has his camera on, which is fine, but he's there. There he is. He's the invisible Michael Shu, who is a very dear friend of mine of many, many years. He is the publisher of the Legend Meets Science book, or the original. He was the one that took the book that was worked on and got it published. Okay, he didn't. So, hi,
Very
Michael. Cool. Hang on. Hi, Michael. Can you hear me? Michael? Hello?
Oh.
I don't hear you, Michael. Poor Michael. He's been trying to get on all night.
Yeah.
And he's got a great story.
He's having some microphone problems.
Yeah. So what you're going to want to do, Mike, just like try your cell phone or try your computer. But we really want to get you on. So
I hear him.
Michael?
You can hear me?
Yeah, there we are.
There we are.
You can't see me.
I can't see you. We don't need this. There you are. Where? He just popped up. No, he didn't
Am I
pop
there?
up.
He
Yes.
went away.
We can still
Boy,
hear
this-
you.
This technology is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay.
So if you're using your phone, get closer.
Well, my
Your-
phone. See, the problem might be that it's trying to connect my phone and my computer at the same time.
Oh, yes, that does that.
Let me disconnect my phone and see if that.
Good. That's actually good. I figured that out too the other day with another guy. In the meantime, hi, John. Hi, Carl.
Hey, how's it going?
You guys are so patient.
Oh, it's okay.
It doesn't even look like you, John. I know you so well, and it does not look like you for some reason. I don't
It's
know.
the
why.
lighting. It's the lighting.
And the hat. Yeah, I can't. So what the hell? You're wearing a hat? You got a full head of hair?
Yeah, but I don't know. Wearing a hat today.
Michael, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Hear you good
Oh,
now.
okay. You just can't see me.
Correct.
We don't.
All right.
No,
well, you don't
get
need
over
to-
that. We don't
you guys
need to
don't
see you.
Yeah, you don't need to see me.
He's a handsome fella, but
A face for radio, as they say.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I used to do radio. Doug knows.
Yeah. So Michael, I'm going to just tell you a little bit about Michael. He obviously knows Jeff very, very well. They work together quite a bit. But Michael, by chance, is my neighbor.
Yeah.
Oh. It's kind of weird. Yeah. It's just weird. Like one house between his house and my house. That's weird.
Well, actually, there were no houses when we first met.
Oh yeah, there were no houses between.
And we should have split that lot.
So could you imagine doing a Bigfoot project with your neighbor? It's just bizarre, but we did. And
Yes, we did.
And not only did we do it, did it right, and I think Mike, you didn't even expect the book to sell, and it blew you away.
Well, it's an interesting story about the book, and I'll just tell it real briefly. So Doug would call me at like 11:30 at night and say, "Hey, you need to come over and look at what I just edited." And I would come running over, and then it was, how long was the full documentary? It was an hour documentary, but
Yeah.
45 minutes, 42 minutes.
Yeah, Sludge Meat Signs he's talking about.
Yeah, and there was just a lot of stuff that got cut out of it, right? And I remember my son was, the age where he loved watching Discovery Channel and Shark Week. And one day we were in the bookstore and we found a book, and it was called the Discovery Shark Week Companion Book. So we bought the book. And then later I showed it to Doug. I said, "Hey, look, there's a companion book for this Shark Week. And I think you need to have a companion book for Sasquatch Legend Meets Science." And Doug goes, "Great idea. You're going to do it." And I said, "Oh, okay." And then obviously, getting a book out there is not the easiest thing in the world. It wasn't back then. It probably is a lot easier now. This was 2001, right, Doug?
Yeah, long time ago.
Wow.
Amazon didn't even exist.
Well, it did. It barely did. And the book
Barely?
did sell on Amazon. But the interesting thing is I was able to get a meeting in New York City. This is your classic, you go to New York City, you meet with the publisher and the editor and, for lunch, and then you're, either going to get the deal or you're not, right? So I went there. It was a quick lunch. I got to meet it was lunch with the editor, and then I got to meet the publisher for like literally 10 minutes. And his only question to me was, "So what do you think? Do you really believe Sasquatch exists?" And I said, "Well, I'm willing to suspend disbelief." And he goes, "Great. That's exactly what I was looking for." And then, the next week the contract showed up. I had to get Jeff engaged at that time.
Was this Nevermont Publishing?
No, Nevermont actually could not sell it. And
okay.
it was Nevermont was a guy that you had talked to before.
Oh, yeah. So he referred you, didn't he, to somebody? Or
He gave me a list of a bunch of people who might be interested. And
gotcha.
really, the story is that it was Tom Doherty at the time. It was the imprint Tom Doherty, which is now Macmillan imprint. And then there was somehow Tor was involved at the time, and Tor was a fantasy kind of imprint. And this was their first nonfiction book. And what they were looking for was what they call an evergreen book, a book that would sell forever, right? And it's still selling, even though it's a 20-year-old book. We tried to get a second book out. But let me go back to my conversations with Meldrum. Obviously, Meldrum was in the documentary, and he was an academic, and I felt like we needed that academic kind of background involved in publishing a book, especially, a book about legend and science. So I talked to Jeff numerous times, and I said, Jeff, if you, and I'm selling him, I'm trying to sell him, right? I said, Jeff, if you write this book, I'll make you a rock star in the Bigfoot world. Which was pretty easy to say at the time because there was really nothing going on in terms of new books coming out on this subject. And the documentary that Doug was putting together was, at a key time, right? It was CSI meets Bigfoot, basically. And so we were trying to kind of have this sciencey aspect to it, and I wanted an academic, and obviously I didn't have a lot to choose from, right? So I got Jeff involved, and I don't know if it was the promise I made to him or if it was the advance.
Yeah, but you got to remember, I was also in the background.
Yes.
Just hammering Jeff to write this book.
Yes, and I don't know the full story there.
No.
We should probably read.
We definitely worked them together.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes. So finally.
But by the way, I was going to mention, think of The Undertaking. That book is how many pages, Michael?
I don't know. It's over 200.
Yeah, it's thick and it's complicated. And it wasn't an easy write. It was
197. I got it in front of me right now.
Oh, okay.
Only 197? Shoot.
297.
297.
Yeah, 300 pages.
Well, so it's interesting. So I worked with him for a long time. I was actually the first editor of the thing because I would edit it and then we would hand it off to the editor that the publisher gave us. And so Jeff and I would have a lot of discussions over what was going to get in the book, what wasn't going to get in the book, how things were going to be addressed in the book and all that kind of stuff. So I had a lot of time to really probe Jeff's true feelings about the subject matter and all that kind of stuff. And we got if you remember, he starts out the book by talking about the personal experience that got him involved. Doug talks about his personal experience about why he's interested in the subject. And I think what's really fascinating about the whole thing is Jeff did have a personal experience, and it was the Patterson-Gimlin film that originally, as he was 60, so he's 7 years older than me. And I don't ever remember going to see, like in a high school gymnasium or auditorium, the Patterson-Gimlin footage, but he did. And he told me that kind of set him down this path and got him interested in everything, probably even in his PhD thesis and all that kind of stuff. He was very interested in he wanted to tell the truth. And I think he was very good at that and very courageous. In fact, one of the reasons I was concerned about having him in the write the book was because at the time that we started talking about this, he was just an associate professor. He wasn't a full professor at Idaho State. Now, listening to you guys talk about some of the issues that he came up against in terms of academic jealousy or just people who thought he was just, talking about junk science and all that stuff. I don't know, because I never really had a discussion with him about all those things. But I do know that at the time I said, hey, do you realize that this could affect you in whether or not you get tenure eventually? And he said, yes. And I understand that, and I'm willing to take the risk. But before that time, he was the guy I wanted, and then I kind of gave him a way out, and he didn't take it. So then, we get the book out and all that kind of stuff. And there's actually a lot of funny stories that I don't know, Doug, if you even know all of these, but, so I was trying to get publicity for him, and I almost got him onto the Ellen DeGeneres show, and I almost got him onto the David Letterman show. But this is how crazy stuff goes. It's all down to like the last minute, and obviously he would have to travel, and so you have to plan this stuff out, and then he would get bumped by somebody. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I do remember that the Letterman booker sends me this email, or maybe it was a fax at the time, but he sends me a thing that says, hey, look, we're very interested in Dr. Meldrum, and I'm from Wisconsin. So this guy in New York City is actually from Wisconsin, and he's telling me that he's got, ideas about Bigfoot and all that kind of stuff. So it was just kind of interesting. And I don't remember how the Ellen show fell through, but it ultimately fell through as well. And then I get a call one day from a company that is interested in doing a movie about the book. And first I tell them, hey, and Doug, you probably know about this, because I kind of said, I don't know if I have the rights to have you guys do a movie, because I just have the rights to the book. And the book was written by Meldrum. And so the name of this company, you can Google it, is called Legendary Pictures. And Legendary Pictures has done a lot of big movies since the early 2000s when they were first starting out. And there's a guy by the name of Thomas Tull, who is, I think his claim to fame is like he made a bunch of money on Wall Street and basically took private equity money and hedge fund money to LA and started making films. Okay. So he actually invites Jeff down to LA, and they spend the day together. And then he asked Jeff to go out to dinner with his family because he has kids who are interested in Sasquatch. And ultimately, it all kind of fell apart because when we tried to pin him down on what the movie would be about, because Jeff and I talked about, doing the movie like, kind of like Raiders of the Lost Ark or the movies where you have a college professor, he's giving a lecture, and then someone rushes in after class and says, hey, Dr. Meldrum, we found a Sasquatch activity here, and it's off the charts, and you got to come. And, so we actually kind of tried to kind of create that kind of scenario for a movie. And we found out that Legendary Pictures and Thomas Tull, they wanted to make a horror movie. So Jeff, being the guy with such integrity, basically says, no, I can't be involved in anything like that. And so that was game over. But those are, just some of the interesting things that we kind of had to run down. Unfortunately, we would have probably even sold more books and gotten more people involved had we got on Ellen DeGeneres and David Letterman, but it didn't work out. But it was
interesting.
Yeah, but and if they wanted to do a movie that was more along the lines of what Jeff and I were kind of thinking, then I think Jeff would have done it. But been a consultant on the movie and that kind of stuff. But those are all things that could have happened that didn't happen. Maybe in a different universe they did happen. I don't know.
To this day, nobody has done a proper Bigfoot movie. It has not been done yet, which is sad.
Yeah, because
it's on my bucket list. Maybe I'll end up doing it.
There you go.
Yeah, because I know what it needs. And
lots of things getting added to your to-do list tonight.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Michael, I got to get to some other people, but what I'd like to do is to get you back and do a whole legend meets science. We can get you, Matt Moneymaker, and some of the other people involved in legend meets science, and we can just tell stories of legend meets all this insider, because there's a lot of insider stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories.
There really is.
Let me just add one. Can I just add one thing?
Yeah, by the way, I want to mention, Michael, you got to hear this, stay on. Jeff, I wouldn't even have met Jeff if it wasn't for Legend Meets Science.
Yep.
Book. Don't you agree, Jeff? Jeff?
Yeah.
I don't think I would have met you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the other Jeff. Well, that's actually 100%, and that's actually why Brendan came on. Brendan is one of my oldest friends here, and he got me into the movie. He got me into the book.
Yep.
And that's how I became a huge Meldrum fan. That's how I became so interested in the subject. And so without Brendan, without Dr. Meldrum, I never would have met you. And meeting Doug has just been such a blessing. Just Doug's become a very close friend. We've had a ton of fun together. I love being on this show. It's been a life-changing experience. So I have to thank Dr. Meldrum for that, and Brendan. So
yeah, and Brendan, by the way, Michael, is probably one of the biggest fans ever of the book.
Oh, really?
And yeah, so we're bringing you on now, Brandon.
Well, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes. There we go. So tell us your feelings about Legend Meets Science.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it was just the best documentary that came out ever. And I always tried to see every documentary that I could find, and usually recorded on VHS. And I've moved a lot of those to DVD these days, so I can keep watching them whenever I want. And yeah, I remember going to Jeff's house and bringing down the DVD and saying, "You got to see this." And I believe you showed it to your brother Joe too, who's still very skeptical, but and he's a big game hunter that travels the world. So almost invariably, when I see Joe, I say, did you ask your guides about any Bigfoot stories in their area? And I think he's a little hesitant to do that because
some of his guides have stories, but he doesn't like talking about it so much. He's not as interested in it.
But the bottom line is, there's a butterfly effect.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah.
With that film and the book, obviously it's been a butterfly effect in my life. It allowed me to do mysterious encounters. It allowed me to do monster quests, because you have to build. You just don't jump right into a History Channel show, right? You have to build credibility through the years. And the book and the movie I made, The Legend Meets Science, and the fact it was all done so well, obviously partly due to me, but because I was smart enough to hire really good people to work on it. Really good narrator, really good, and get really good scientists like Jeff and Dr. Benson and just all the people that were involved, Esteban. That's what made it, but it's changed so many lives. I know it changed Matt Moneymaker's life tremendously. He went on to have a 11-year stint as a star on a TV show because of Legend Meets Science. It's because of the build, you know what I mean? You know how that goes. If you don't build that first rung on the ladder, you don't get to climb it. There's nothing to climb. And so to hear Brendan, so let's, lay it on Mike, how that book affected your thoughts and your feelings.
Well, it brought in our big muscle of Bigfoot as our scientist, our Jeff Meldrum. Where other people, had enthusiasm and were armchair researchers. Now we had an academic behind us, a real serious man with a real education, and who wasn't just looking at it as, boy, is this fun? Is that this is real science? This is in my field of expertise of locomotion and foot morphology. And I mean, just look at all the words that we can say now because we learned it from Dr. Meldrum.
Mid-tarsal break.
Mid-tarsal break. And I remember seeing those pictures of Patty's footprints. And I thought, well, geez, there's a branch buried underground there. You can tell it's a real foot because it's flexing over it. It wasn't until Meldrum came up with the mid-tarsal break that we knew that was because their foot was built differently. And it made sense. And it's like, oh my gosh, I recognized something was unique there, but I didn't know anything about that. I'm an ultrasound technologist by trade. And one of the radiologists taught me, you see what you know and you don't see what you don't know. So if you don't know what you're looking at, you don't necessarily know what you're missing. And when you do know what you're looking at, you know a whole lot more about that. And, I feel really fortunate. I got to meet Dr. Meldrum last year at the Minnesota Bigfoot conference last October. He missed it the year before because he was ill. But I got my book autographed that I've had 20 years now. I got it out and brought it up there. It's at Jeff's house right now because I want Doug Hychek to sign it too. If there's two people that need to sign that book, it was Dr. Meldrum and Doug Hychek for their contributions. And the main point I'd like to make tonight is, I listen to almost every speech or podcast that Dr. Meldrum makes on YouTube. And I'd really like to see a scholarship fund set up in his memorial, maybe a research grant, scholarship fund, where we can identify budding scientists or people that need money to do serious research. And I don't know how to go about that, but I'd be willing to work on it with others, try to raise money and have a perpetual fund that identifies work that needs to be done.
Brandon, I can help with that. I know exactly.
Right.
And Michael too.
Yeah.
Michael's an expert in that stuff too. He was what's the name? I can't think. It just escaped me.
I was a regent.
Regent, yeah. He was a college regent.
Okay.
But I do know, I think people who would be willing to maybe fund an educational grant or two or whatever, or some kind of yearly fund.
Yeah, like a yearly fund. So it's going up because he was such a proponent of finding new scientists and helping them, because you can't do research if you don't have money. I mean, you got to put food on the table.
Right.
And if you want to do a Bigfoot research project, let's help people out. Equipment, education, whatever.
Brendan and Doug, maybe that would even be better done in the form of an academic chair rather than purely a research fund. So you could support a young investigator, in his research on an ongoing basis. But anyway, that's certainly something that I'd be interested in talking to anybody about. I've been involved in that area for a long time.
You're talking real money if you're talking about a chair. So
right.
Yeah. Let's raise a lot of money.
Rusty, I'll connect you and Brendan. I have both your contact information. I'll connect the two of you.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we can do a private video roundtable with people from Zoo Book and whoever would be interested in helping.
Yeah, I mean, this is the butterfly effect, and I love that. You know what I love most about Legend Meets Science, more than anything? When, in my old age, I meet a new scientist, and I ask them, how did you get, why are you into science? Why are you willing to do this forensic work for Legend Meets Science 2? And they go, because I watched Legend Meets Science 1 when I was a kid. And I ended up, that motivated me to get my PhD and blah, blah, blah. And I've heard this many times. And I'm like, wow, that is so cool.
Well, that movie and the book, it was a true paradigm shift, because I was always interested in any of the Art Bell stuff, any kind of fringy stuff, and seeing that documentary, reading that book was the first time it clicked in my head. This could really be an actual creature. This isn't some goofy, ghost story. It's particularly Meldrum's footprint analysis. It was a paradigm shift that this is a real creature that can actually be studied, and there's data to be found in those footprints. It's so overwhelming. It was a complete paradigm shift. I don't know a better way to put it than that. It's amazing. It changed the way I think about all of that stuff, and I've been interested ever since.
Yeah, which is amazing, because Jeff has never had any kind of Bigfoot activity in his life.
No,
but he's really into the topic.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by it, and I just the evidence of a biological phenomenon is just overwhelming to me. And I'm not trained in science, but I was a science nerd as a kid. I've read many, many, many books, and so I was just, I understand the science behind what they're talking about, and that it just clicked in my head, like, wow, this, like Brendan said, all this terminology that we all know now. Before that movie, who the heck knew what a mid-tarsal break was? Now we all know what that is. Who knew what a dermal ridge was? Now we all know what a dermal ridge was. And that's such a huge part of just bringing this mystery to life and bringing it credibility and scientific rigor. I mean, it changed the whole topic. Again, paradigm shift. It just changed everything.
Hey, Doug,
thanks, Doug, for doing that. Thanks, Michael, for doing that.
Go ahead, Michael.
Above all, thanks, Dr. Meldrum, for doing that. It's incredible.
Yeah. Can I just say that one of the biggest compliments that we got on the book was we were told, or I was told, that by a dad, that his son is now interested in science because of Legend Meets Science.
Who was this?
It's just I don't remember who it was. It was. Well, I know lots of friends of mine bought the books for their kids, but I don't think this person who actually told me this was someone that I considered a friend at the time. So it's just interesting, the fact that, it's just this one subject matter might have gotten this kid into science.
Yeah.
Even though it's not,
awesome.
Maybe he studies Bigfoot someday in the future, but, he's into science.
That's kind of the big thing, is that kids were inspired to. I know Monster Quest inspired a lot of kids to get into science too, which is so cool, and this goes on behind, like, my back. I don't know about it all. I've heard of this case and that case. I have people write me all the time, but I'm thinking about the thousands of ones you don't ever hear about, which is cool. Okay, saving the best for last. Carl and John, you guys, and we got Greg too. Greg, you're always so kind, and you're so enthusiastic. I know you probably only had one energy drink tonight, right? I told him he couldn't have two; he can only have one. Go ahead, Greg. What are your thoughts about Jeff? Oh, your mic is muted.
There we go. I got it.
That's all right. Jeff has to unmute it. He did. You should be good now, Greg.
Go ahead, Greg. There we go.
Am I good?
Yep,
Yeah.
we can hear you now.
Okay. It's kind of, in a weird way, it was last Wednesday night. I'm on with you and Jeff and my buddy Mark, and we're talking about this amazing thing that had happened. And we didn't know at that point we'd already lost Jeff. Jeff passed on Tuesday. It became public on Thursday. Unlike so many here, including Rusty. Rusty, if you ever need a drummer, look me up. Like so many here, I never got to meet him. I actually had a meeting with him set up at the Glide, Oregon Bigfoot Festival. Scott Volette, Squatch America, was there with Jeff. He'd set it up. Then I had car trouble, and I was never able to get there. And I thought, there'll be another time. I probably will run into him at Cliffs or something else. And the sadness now that I feel over the fact that I had that opportunity to meet him and circumstances took it away. What will never be taken away, even without having met him, was how profound he was for me, for all of us, because he was our true north in so many ways. It all pointed back to him when we needed that scientific ability to deal with skeptics or convince people who really weren't sure. You could always lean on Jeff and what he had produced. He was never wavering. He was always patient, even with the most agnostic of unbelievers, which I think is an important lesson for all of us. I think about him and I think about the Four Horsemen. And the Four Horsemen were great for inspiring the search and igniting the passion. But I'm here to tell you, I think Jeff was even more significant than the Four Horsemen because of his ability to articulate the science. And he had...
I agree so much with you, Greg. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
I really agree with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he had that unimpeachable gravitas. You skeptics just couldn't get around it. And he could prove it just through the science of what he had, even though he himself had never had a direct experience. And that still blows my mind. But he had not had a direct experience. He could still walk you through the science and prove that's a living creature that does this. This is how. And he also was tremendous about spotting the fakes. I think Les probably illustrated that best in his Survivor Man Bigfoot series, when he went out to attempt to fake, and Jeff caught on to it. And I think John was also involved in that, but it was Jeff that goes, wait a minute, this is a hoax. This is a fake. But watch how Jeff handled that with grace, with professionalism, with calm, and he just walked it through. And that, I thought, was probably one of the greatest testaments to Jeff I ever saw, and how methodical he was, and how he broke it down, and how he walked through everything. The saddest part is realizing, whereas Grover, retired and aged out, Jeff was there ready to step up and actually then reach levels that honestly I just don't think Grover ever did. We don't have that heavy hitter right now ready to step up and grab the baton. The baton's laying on the ground. Who's going to step up? I heard somebody say it could be any one of us. I appreciate that sentiment.
Yeah.
But I know that's not me.
Yeah.
Because I'm certainly not Jeff. And the other problem we have, Jeff was such a one of one. No matter what, no matter who may develop and come along, there is never going to be another Jeff Meldrum. And we're all so much poorer for that. I'm still just in almost a surreal disbelief that he's actually gone, because Jeff just felt larger than life to me. And thank goodness we have so much documented, because in a way, Jeff now will truly be immortal. And for that, I am eternally grateful.
Yeah.
Well said.
Very well said. I was going to mention, we have a whole bunch of pre-recorded eulogies we're going to play towards the end of the show. So you're going to want to stick around for those. A lot of them are really amazing. How many do we have, Jeff, to play?
Oof,
we have
lots.
We have lots.
Hey, unfortunately, I do need to step out right now. I really appreciate being.
Well, thank you, Greg. Thank you. Yeah, you can
see all these other, what I consider legends in the field currently out there. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this, Doug and Jeff.
Yeah, well, we thank you. Thanks, Greg. We'll see you soon.
Yep.
I'm going to step out too, guys. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. It's really been a pleasure.
Thank you, Rusty.
You guys take care.
All right, bye.
Take care.
See, now we got the best for last. Badger, are you going up to the Bigfoot conference this fall?
I don't think I'll be able to make it this year up to the Bigfoot conference, but because I've got a lot of plans going on that weekend. But next year I will be definitely go at it. So it's a big priority. But
anyhow, so
yeah,
John, you've been kind enough to wait. I'm sorry, and just like,
hey, that's all right. I'm kind of like Esteban. I'm kind of hitting my limit here. I got to get up at 5 a.m. for heading out of town. But no,
tell us your thoughts on losing Jeff, and what it's meant to you.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff and I, we weren't real close or anything like that, but I had the opportunity to talk to him on the phone for about an hour one night. I was able to get, be able to pick his brain a little bit on some of the subjects that we were discussing and stuff like that. He was a very patient guy. I have to say that I enjoyed, every moment that I was able to talk to him. I missed him at the conference that he wasn't able to make that year. I was at that conference and I was hoping to meet him in person, but I've mostly known him, Doug, through you and through, the numerous interviews he's had and stuff that he's had on TV. I'll never forget the Snell Grove episode there with, I think it was Peter Schmitz, Dale Pearson. And that to me was a really a defining moment with Dr. Meldrum. I love that show that they were so precise at looking at they had the board with the screws in it, and they were, went in depth on that and so forth.
That was Kurt Nelson and Jeff.
Oh, Kurt Nelson. Yes.
Kurt
Thank you.
From the University of Minnesota. Yep.
Thank you. Yep. And I don't know if Greg Bambenek was involved with that one.
He was on Sasquatch Attack #2.
Right.
Dr. Greg Bambenek was up. Yeah.
I was able to meet him a few times. We used to call him Dr. Juice, because it was
yep.
His lure attractants and stuff for fish, but
yep, that's how I met him years and years.
Yeah,
like 35 years ago. I met him in the 80s because he was developing scents.
Yeah, pheromones and different things like that, and that went a lot with the Bigfoot research and stuff like that. And for me, I'm just a grunt in the field, and stuff like that. I spend a lot of time out in the woods, as you know. I do, a lot of research and stuff like that. But I have a lot to learn, a lot of academia, a lot of more, casting, a lot more stuff. Mid-tarsal break was one of the things that came up just earlier. I said that was one of the things that the footprints that we've found, that's how we identify a lot of these prints, if it's got that mid-tarsal break, So I've learned a lot just from what Legend Meets Science. That was groundbreaking as a lot of people previously had spoken about. A lot of us in the field thoroughly enjoy the academia part that Jeff brought. I ordered one of the casts. Trying to think of the name of the cast that I received, but it was the officer out in Washington that
Dennis Hayford.
Hayford, yes, thank you.
Yes.
So the field guide that Jeff put together, I do have an autographed one from Jeff. So yeah, I mean, it was a shock to hear. I know you were really close to him, obviously, and that it was very effective as far as a lot of the work that you guys have been doing together and stuff like that. So, and they talk about people stepping up and having the expertise. Doug, I think you're one of the top in the industry. I think you've had so much other people that have contributed to what you work with, that I think that's a torch that you can carry on, I think, within this field. So
I'll try, and I thank you for that, John. But I don't know. Jeff was just like a brother that seemed bigger than life, almost like a god. You could call Jeff and ask him anything at any time of day and night, and he was just enthusiastic to hear from you, to answer any question. We'd get in these great conversations, and they would go on for hours sometimes. And like you said, you talked to him for an hour one night, and that's Jeff. He was like just a big brother to a lot of people.
Right. He didn't know me from anybody. I called him up and I was able to talk to him, and I thought, this is just great. He was very personable. Yeah. He took the time to answer questions. It wasn't rushed or anything like that. And now I hear so much about his personality that, nothing really shook him much. He would think of playing and stuff like that. I think that was just a great trait that Jeff had. So.
Yeah, and that's why he, suffered just with his family. He didn't really reach out to anybody on the last days of his life.
Right.
He didn't want sympathy from anybody.
Right. Very private with that.
Yeah, pretty clear.
Amazing guy.
Yeah,
he really was.
Well, I
Carl?
appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you, John. Go to bed. Goodbye.
Yeah.
I'll
Thank
see
you.
you. I'll see you soon. All right.
And safe travel. Bye.
Thank you, Carl.
Appreciate it.
Carl's coming to Minneapolis, and Carl
I am coming to Minneapolis.
is going to, and actually, you're going to be speaking at the Minnesota Bigfoot Conference up in October 2nd, 3rd, no, 3rd and 4th.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
3rd and 4th. Yep.
Pretty quick.
Yep. And even on the 3rd, the evening of the 3rd, we're gonna, I don't know what time, but we'll meet in the bar. We'll do an Irish wake. I know Jeff didn't drink, but we'll set up.
He didn't even drink tea or coffee, nothing.
Correct.
So
I know that.
I've never seen him drink
I,
anything but water.
We'll have a glass of milk.
But I do.
There we go.
I will lift a glass or a shot of Patron any day to Jeff.
Yep. Same here.
So
But
we're all going to have a shot of Patron, Brandon.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay,
I'm in.
All right.
Yep.
We'll be there.
Yeah, maybe we can live stream that. No.
Yeah,
Probably not
really.
a good idea.
Why not?
Yeah, but no, I never did get to meet Dr. Meldrum, and and that's sad because there's a couple words today that I could pull out from everyone's commentary, which was inspiration and courage, right?
Yeah.
And in my industry, working in software consulting, that absolutely could have a negative effect, but at one time I decided, and really pretty much after looking at Sasquatch Legend Meets Science, because it did lend additional credibility that I could point to in order to take some of that heat off. So it really gave me the courage in order to step out of the shadows, if you would. And of course, this is going to be my first speaking engagement.
He gave us all courage. He did. He gave us courage. Because we knew we could always say to somebody, well, there's scientists involved in this. Look at this guy, and he's brilliant. He's a scientist and he's studying the topic. And so it's not like some stupid, like legend. There's more to it than that.
And everyone mentioned, that everyone, on the podcast, is, could be the next, but I think we all bring our own unique skills. And, doing data analysis and debug, Carl, go debug 18 million lines of code, right? You have to find that one or two bugs in that code in order to fix some issue. Right. It's the same thing when I go out in the woods, right, where I can look at a scenery and pick out exactly, what's out of place or what is different, it really, and I think we all bring those unique skills. And I think that together, I think we are Dr. Meldrum.
Yeah.
So
I like this comment. Sly Fox goes, Dr. Meldrum, he armed us with education.
Yep.
That's so true. So true. I see Michael has entered the studio, the invisible Michael.
Yeah, he kind of keeps coming and going.
I re-entered because I'm trying to fix my camera, but
I think he's cloaking. That's what I think.
We can hear you.
Cloaking, Michael.
I'm just destined for radio.
You fix your camera, don't you? It's with a hammer.
But
yeah, Michael's shoe is amazing, and we've been friends. How long, Michael?
Since you moved in next.
Well, I know,
week.
but it's been like since the year 2000 at least.
Yeah, about 25 years.
25 years, yeah. Yep.
So it's getting late here. Should we try to get in some of these clips of people talking?
Yeah, let's do that.
So the first one I got here.
I'll drop and I'll let you play through there. But thanks, guys. I really appreciate you giving me time on.
Yeah,
but
thanks,
Carl.
Thanks,
and I'll
Carl,
be seeing
for
you
being
soon.
part of it.
Be seeing you soon.
Yeah, we got it. We'll talk maybe tomorrow. All right, I'll call
Okay,
you.
sounds good.
Thanks, Carl.
Bye, Carl.
All right.
You just mean he's flying into Minneapolis, right? Because the conference is up north, isn't it?
Right.
Correct.
He's going to fly in, and I'm going to drive.
It's about
him
2
up.
hours north of here. 2 hours north of us, give or take.
Is this the Grand Rapids one, or is
Yes.
this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and Brendan and I will be there too. That'll be a good time. All right, so this first one I got here, this is a two-parter. This is from Cliff. I'll play this.
If you can't play it, I have another one from him. So
I think I have everything. It's
no, I'm talking about the volume level.
Oh,
so Cliff was on the road, and driving. He pulled over to do this, but go ahead. Yeah, we can't even hear it, Jeff. Yeah, there's zero. I covered my butt with Cliff because Cliff is very important.
That's max volume I can get out of it.
I have it. I've got it, Jeff. We're all
Okay.
good. I just got to play it. Just give me 1 second. Here we go. Just hang on.
Sorry I can't join everyone. I'd love to be with my friends celebrating the life of Dr. Meldrum, who recently passed. I'm on a very, very long drive, and I'm unable to get to my computer, so please forgive me. But and what can we say about Dr. Meldrum? I mean, at first he was an idol for his work. And later he became a mentor, and then finally became a friend. So my loss is personal, and it hurts very, very deeply. But as far as the loss to the community, it's terrible. It's unspeakable. He is irreplaceable in my mind. It's just tragic, unfortunately. But instead of mourning our loss, and there's a time and a place for that, of course, but I'd like to challenge all of us to perhaps pick up the baton and carry it further for Dr. Meldrum, doing it for the animals and Dr. Meldrum. He would want us to continue looking at the subject and delving deeper into it in a scientific way, in a sober way, in a responsible and mature way, just like he did. So please, everyone listening, let's lick our wounds and mourn our friend. But at the same time, let's continue forward, doing it for Jeff. Let's do it for Jeff. I'm so deeply grateful that I lived at such a time as with Dr. Meldrum, that our timelines overlapped. His contributions are just so great. I'm so sorry he's gone. Thank you, everybody, for giving me an opportunity to say this little piece of love for Jeff. It's for you, Jeff. I'm doing it for you.
Amen.
You could hear that good?
Yep. Thanks, Cliff.
Hey, so did I hear earlier that Cliff is actually going to inherit the footprints?
Yes. Yes. He's going to inherit all of them.
I hope he has a place to put them.
Well, he's got a museum, the North American Bigfoot Center.
Yeah, but is it big enough? I mean, Jeff's lab was huge.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Cliff should have a display area ready, I'm sure, or knows where he's going to deal with them.
I hope he gets the cabinet.
Is this Ray Harwood?
Yep.
Ray?
Yep. This is a pre-recorded clip.
Oh, it's pre-recorded. Go
Yep.
ahead and play it.
Yep.
I wonder why he wasn't answering me.
It's daylight
come
where
on.
he
Is
is.
volume bad too? Make sure the volume's up all the way. Hold on 1 second here.
Is he in Iowa?
Yeah, Jeff, your sound is not working, man. Zero. There's nothing.
Oh, for crying out loud. He sent it in a weird format here. Let me try.
Just try a different one. I don't think your soundboard's working.
All right. Well, I've got one here. Let's see. We got.
Just try any of them.
Yeah, here we got. Here's a. I got to bring this up here because some people sent this in different formats here. But I think I can play. Here we go. This one I can play. This is from Adam Colt.
Last year, I got a very special opportunity to call Jeff and wish him happy birthday. I spent an hour with both Dr. Meldrum and Doug Hychek chatting about our favorite subject, Bigfoot. I think that's a bucket list item for most of us. I've always been inspired by Dr. Meldrum and his bravery, facing academic isolation for pursuing something that's outside the norms of standard scientific research. I think it's really important for people to look at the evidence and try to find scientific conclusions, even if it doesn't conform to popular opinion. I think Jeff felt the same. I'm very proud of the work he's done and the contributions he's made, and I'm proud that his friends and colleagues continue the scientific pursuit of truth. He will forever be remembered by our community and forever be connected to the subject of Bigfoot research, and I'm proud, very proud, to call him a friend.
Well said.
Yes, and that came through, so I don't know why the sound worked on that.
Well, the ones that people pre-recorded on our site are great.
Well, how about I play Carl or Ray's? I can play the sound.
Okay.
At least we can hear the sound. So let me do that with Ray Harwood, because he had some nice.
I have some more on deck that I can play too.
Yeah. So go ahead and play another one, and I'll get Ray queued up.
All right. This is actually from your son, Blaine Hychek.
Hi, this is Blaine Hychek. I was lucky to spend a week with Jeff in 2007 when we traveled to film Monster Quest at Snellgrove Lake. He was really kind to me, and I enjoyed the time we got to spend together. Jeff brought real science and passion to the Bigfoot community in a way you just do not see. I'm grateful for what he taught all of us about how to bring science and mystery together. My thoughts are with his family and everyone who followed his work. He's going to be deeply missed. Thank you, Jeff.
Very nice.
Thank you,
Ready, Doug?
Blaine.
Is that the infamous border crossing?
Yes, yes, he was with during the infamous border crossing. All right, let me get Ray queued up. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Ray Harwood, and I do Sasquatch research. And I just wanted to say that it saddens me, the passing of Dr. Jeff Meldrum, who was the Bigfoot community's litmus test. You would have to get any artifactual evidence or any evidence of any sort, past the scrutiny of Dr. Meldrum for verification and whatnot. And other than that, he had a funny personality about him. He was very personable and a kind person and a friend to us all. And I did get to spend time with him, which was, now I know is a blessing. And I guess we take it for granted, that people will always be around. So I pray for him and his family. And thank you to Doug and Jeff for doing this tribute video. Have a good day. Happy squatching.
And that was from Ray Harwood.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And you could hear the audio good in the old-fashioned way?
Yeah. He actually did a nice video, but I couldn't. It played earlier, but ever since I had to reboot. All right, I got some more here, though. This is from Ashley Range from Squatch and Holler here on Untold. Here we go. This is Ashley.
No sound. Jeff. Oh,
no sound.
No sound. Zero.
Oh, I had the wrong one. Okay, that's why. All right, I will play Loretta first. I have Loretta here. This will work. This is Loretta Collins.
Yes. Hi, Doug. Yes, my first memory of Dr. Meldrum, I met him at a conference in 2016. I had taken a cast, my very first attempt, pathetic looking, and he looked at it. My son, who special needs, had broken it on the way there, and I was kind of ashamed, but I wanted him to see it. And he had such patience with me; it was unbelievable. He looked at it and he goes, "It's the right width, it's this, but because it's broken, he couldn't really say, what it was." But without any, he wasn't incredulous. He just had the patience. And then I watched as other people spoke with him. He never rushed them. He always was well informed, and there were lines out the door for his stuff. So that was the first time. Then I've met him at many conferences over the years. I met him in Texas again, and they were having a trivia thing where everybody he had asked a question. I forget it was a while back, and he was so thrilled. I got the answer. It was Ivan Sanderson, but he was very excited because everybody was giving the wrong answer. But I got lucky, I suppose. And I won a terrarium with him, signed by him, and I had to carry it on a plane. They inspected it. They destroyed it, but I still kept it because, he had signed it. And then through the Ohio Bigfoot Conference, which I love, he came very often. And then we would go out and have dinner. And one time, someone behind me sneezed. And this was after his first incident that he had on the cruise ship. And I said, "God bless you." And he turned around. I turned around. And he said, "It was me that sneezed." I said, "Oh, well, God bless you." I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "I'm great. I'm just glad to be alive." I think he was thankful that he had, got through that incident. And it's so sorry to hear of his passing. We became like friends, and he told me a story about when he went to Russia and with Igor Bursev, and he had played a little joke on him. And he was laughing. He was a wonderful person, very nice, never rude. Sometimes I got tired. I would give out, a little gift to the speakers. And at this time, I couldn't, I just was very exhausted and I wanted to go to bed. So he took the check and he gave it to, he took it and gave it out so that I could go to bed. So that's my memory of him. Very kind, smart, wonderful, wonderful person. I'm so sorry that he's gone. It's unbelievable that he's gone. It's almost surreal. Prayers for his wife and his family. What a wonderful person. And I have some of his books and that. Okay.
All right. So next up, I've got, this is.
It is who?
Next up is Marie Dumont from Florida Squatcher, if memory serves. She's been on our show. Yep. Really, really nice gal. Here we go from Marie Dumont. Whoop, I hit the wrong one again. I'm sorry. Here we go. This is Marie.
Hi, my name is Marie Dumont, and I am the founder of the Mid-Florida Bigfoot Research Group and research team. Dr. Meldrum has always been a brilliant, influential, and dedicated researcher who has brought scientific credibility to the study of Sasquatch. In my eyes, he was larger than life and a brilliant man that I highly respected. My favorite and funniest moment with Dr. Meldrum was the last time I saw him at the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference in 2023 that was held in Ocala, Florida. I was a volunteer at the VIP dinner and was helping set up tables, chairs, and the food for the attendees and the speakers. And about 30 minutes before the dinner started, I looked over at the parking lot area and I spotted my friend Ronnie LeBlanc walking towards the area, and I quickly went over to see him. When Ronnie saw me, he extended out his arms wide and yelled out, "Marie!" And I yelled out, "Ronnie!" And we gave each other a nice big hug. At the time, I didn't notice who was behind Ronnie until after the hug. It was then that I saw Dr. Meldrum standing right behind Ronnie, looking and smiling at me. And I guess I got cut off in all the excitement because I then yelled out, Jeff, like we were best friends and on a first name basis. I then proceeded to throw my arms out wide like I did with Ronnie, and we gave each other a nice big bear hug. After the hug, I quickly realized what I had done, and I was mortified by my behavior towards the good doctor. I apologized to him immediately for being disrespectful and for not calling him Dr. Meldrum, and he just laughed at me and said it was all okay and that he enjoyed getting the hug. I am grateful for getting to know Dr. Meldrum over the years, and that I will always have wonderful, fond memories of him. His legacy will live on forever in the Bigfoot community and in the hearts of all Bigfoot researchers, including mine. He will be greatly missed.
All right. Thank you, Marie. Next one. Now we are back to, this is Ashley Rain. She's from Swatch and Holler on our network. Here we go.
My name is Ashley Range, and I was asked to say a few words in regards to the legendary Dr. Jeff Meldrum. And I will try my best to get through this. I'm already failing, but you know what? That's authentic, so we're going to go with it. What can I possibly say about Dr. Jeff Meldrum that has not been said by many others? I think we are all in shock in this community, and what an honor it is to be a part of this, to be able to speak in regards to essentially a hero in this community, whether it be Bigfoot or cryptids in general or science in general. Jeff leaves a phenomenal wake in his passing, and he will be so sincerely missed. I do not pretend to know Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Dr. Meldrum, however you knew him. I don't claim to have known him personally, but many people that I care about did know him personally and call him friend. And what I've come to surmise about Jeff is that him being such an authentic person himself, what you see is what you got. And I do feel like I knew him from all of his guest appearances on different shows and specials and interviews. I remember vividly my best friend Amanda, aka Amanda the Bigfoot lady, calling me and telling me in excruciating detail about getting to meet Dr. Meldrum when he spoke at Expedition Bigfoot there in Blue Ridge, Georgia, and just how it was such an experience. And that for a lot of people who got to meet Dr. Meldrum, having the similar experiences is unmatched. I don't know if he necessarily meant to go down this path, being a scientist that he is, working very close to my neck of the woods there in Idaho. But I don't know if it was reluctantly becoming the Bigfoot guy, but he definitely eased into his role with such earnestness and sincerity. And I am personally, as a cryptid enthusiast, so grateful for everything that Dr. Meldrum did for the community, giving a scientific backing to something where, to this day, we still consider hard Bigfoot evidence and research in ways that Dr. Meldrum pioneered and perfected. And I think, though he is not here, the legacy that he leaves is as big as the emptiness in our hearts. This came to a shock for many of us, and my deepest, sincerest condolences to his friends, his family, his loved ones. I haven't heard in all the years that I've been aware of Dr. Meldrum, I've not heard a single bad word from anybody, and just a profound sadness in this community. As I said, by the many people that I know and care about who knew and cared about him. So, with that being said, I just extend my gratitude and my sincere thoughts and prayers to Dr. Jeff Meldrum, his family, his loved ones, and will say that I myself personally, as many others around me, standing shoulder to shoulder, will pick this torch up, continue on, and hopefully just make him as proud as we can in our continued search for knowledge, for the truth, and doing it with amazing humor, wit, and positivity. God bless the Meldrum family, and thank you so much for letting me speak on this. God bless you and everyone else. Thank you.
All right, that was that was Ashley Range. Thank you, Ashley. Up next, we've got Dean Bertram.
Hi, it's Dean Bertram from the Untold Radio Network's Talking Weird show. Dr. Jeff Meldrum was a giant in the Bigfoot community. Other than the original four horsemen, Peter Byrne, John Green, Grover Krantz, and Rene DeHenden, all of whom Dr. Meldrum ranks beside, I can think of no one who has had a bigger impact on Sasquatch research. He was a gentleman who will be sorely missed, and it's hard to imagine that anyone will ever take his place.
All right, thank you. That was Dean Bertram.
Yep.
That was very
Next
nice.
up, we have John Pickering. Here we go.
Everyone with even the most remote interest in Sasquatch knows Dr. Meldrum. For many, the lucky ones were able to meet him. I'm one of the super fortunate ones. Not only was I able to meet him, but was honored to do volunteer work for him, collaborate with him, and do field work with him. But nothing will compare to the honor of calling him friend. I always called him Dr. Meldrum. He often said that I could call him Jeff. That just never seemed right. Some people are just bigger than life. That was my friend Jeff. Dr. Meldrum met thousands of people and gave his time to visit with all. That was my friend Jeff. Dr. Meldrum would listen to all my wacky ideas and give honest thought and input, no matter how stupid my ideas were. That was my friend Jeff. Dr. Meldrum was a rock in a shaky world, always the voice of reason and clarity. That was my friend Jeff. We're all better for knowing my friend Jeff.
That was John Pickering. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
The next up, Mark Horban. Or Horban.
I just want to take a moment to share what Dr. Meldrum meant to me personally. What I admired about him was the way that he approached the whole subject of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. He didn't come at it with any wild claims or exaggeration. He came at it as a scientist first and foremost. He was professional, factual, and he really took the time to explain the science behind his claims clearly. You could tell in every piece of evidence that he studied, he treated it seriously and with respect. And for me, that's what made him stand out. He wasn't afraid to look at something a lot of people in his profession may have laughed at, but he did it with integrity. He showed, you could be curious and open-minded and still be grounded in science at the same time. I also admired how articulate he was, how careful he was with the evidence, and, generally just how he gave the topic credibility just by the way that he carried himself. He inspired me and a lot of people to keep asking questions and not be afraid of the unknown. And, because of these things and his expertise in anatomy and anthropology, he was the go-to for any researcher seeking validation of their material by far. Jeff, he left behind more than research. He left an example of how to seek the truth, even when it's not popular. and I'll always respect him for that. You know, he will truly be missed. God bless.
Well, thank you, Mark Corbin. Next up is Christopher Lee Helton.
Can you pause that for 1 second?
Sure.
Let's see. Oh, Abe asks whether I have talked with John Meinzinski. No, I have not. I lost touch with John. I do know that John and Jeff remained in contact, but John's also just a brilliant man, and I have not made contact with him. I'd love to. I just don't have his contact info. So go ahead, Jeff.
All right. This is Christopher Lee Helton.
Like everybody, I was stunned to hear the passing of Dr. Jeff Meldrum. He was a legend in the Bigfoot and Sasquatch community, which I've followed for a long time. I've been into the subject since I was 13 years old, growing up in the country and being a trapper and raising hunting dogs. I was always into tracks and where they led and how the animal was moving. And when Dr. Meldrum came along and he used his knowledge of the profession of locomotion and foot anatomy to add to this community, it basically was a game changer. And his book, Legend Meets Science, what can you say about it? It's the best. And he was working on a new one with Doug Heidcheck, which I hope still makes it out after just passing. All I can say is, Dr. Meldrum, we will all miss you. And I don't think anybody could ever replace what you've done for this community. Thank you, sir. Rest in peace, Jeff.
Thank you, Christopher. Up next is David Dominique.
This is a tremendous loss, absolutely, for his family, but a tremendous loss also to the entire community. Anyone who knew Jeff would tell you how wonderful he was. What a great person. Jeff brought the study of cryptozoology and Bigfoot in particular out of the depths of ridicule and into the realm of legitimate academic and scientific study. For that, I think Jeff, decades from now even, his efforts will be regarded as legendary. It was a privilege and honor to know him. And I think he would want for us all to come together and for everyone to work together to help to continue the furtherance of study in this field. We're going to miss you, Jeff.
Thank you, David. Next up is Dwayne Zazeski.
Dr. Jeff Meldrum. Damn. What can I say? What can we all say? The man dedicated his life to researching this creature. Nothing but respect. And I'm sure we will all miss him greatly. I know I will. Just to give you an example, I met the man many years ago, and it was kind of odd. I met him at his table, bought a few things, came back to his table. He was gone. Money laying everywhere. And I'm like, are you really just going to leave this money laying out? So I took it upon myself to get behind his table, sit in his seat, and continue monitoring his table and greet viewers and tell him that he would be back soon. I don't know where he went. I believe he went to get something to eat. But that was real exciting for me. And it continued and was kind of a joke between us both for every conference since. So that's my story with Jeff. What a great guy. He will be greatly missed. And thank you so much for this forum, for us to give our condolences and share maybe a lighthearted story as to how awesome this man was and will always be. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. Next is Derek Randalls.
I met Dr. Jeff Meldrum in 1996. He walked into my office unexpectedly and asked me to join the North American Ape Project, and it pretty much changed my life. He was unexpected. He came kind of out of nowhere, and I was overwhelmed with the honor of having him ask me to join his research project. I worked with him hand in hand over the years and learned so much from him. He's such a wise human being, and so gracious and so articulate. And I always just felt like a better human after I spent time with him, because he was just so damn genuine and so nice. Jeff Meldrum put authenticity into the Bigfoot subject. Without him, I have no idea where this subject would be today. He added intelligence and wisdom and common sense to an otherwise really difficult subject to study. I am incredibly thankful that I was able to share as much time with him as I did. He got very involved with our research project and came to our property with the Olympic project multiple times. And that enabled researchers to have one-on-one time with him. And he was just very generous with his wisdom and his time. And I have to say, I love that man. And I miss him very much. And I feel like he was taken too early. But I will be forever thankful for my time with him, and the fact that he always dumbed things down well enough for me to understand just what the heck he was talking about. He was a great man. He will be very missed, and I hope you rest in peace, Jeff.
That was good.
Yeah, thank you, Derek.
Derek was the founder of the Olympic project.
Oh. You know, just pause for a second. Aside from just Dr. Meldrum's massive contributions, I don't know that there's a better legacy of any human being just to have been loved that much. Everybody liked him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you didn't like him, it was you. It wasn't him. I mean, he just was such a nice, kind, likable, humble. You can't say enough good things about him.
He was just so it's such a combination of so many amazing things.
Yeah.
That's so, and I loved when he said he always felt like a better human after he spent time with Jeff.
Yeah.
That's exactly the way I always felt.
What a way to be remembered, to be loved that much. It's just a phenomenal legacy.
Yeah.
All right. Next, Jeremiah Byron.
Hey, Doug, this is Jeremiah. I just wanted to share a few thoughts I had about Dr. Meldrum. Took a few minutes to really think about it, and I feel that there's 3 things we can definitely apply to our own lives from the example of Dr. Meldrum. One, thinking about him, he was always giving with his time. I mean, he probably I would guess he has the record of the individual who's gone on the most Bigfoot podcasts, and he would go on every podcast pretty much that asked him, which was incredible. A man that's as busy as he is, but I think the reason he did that, and I never got to ask him, but the reason he probably did that was was always very giving with his knowledge, and he wanted to make sure that the information people need to know about Bigfoot got out there. And I myself personally, I get a lot of stuff in my email for Bigfoot Society, and I would be sending him messages all the time like, hey, Dr. Meldrum, can you look at these footprints? What are your thoughts? And he was always very giving with his time, his knowledge, letting me know, hey, this is obviously, a fake track, and here's why. So I would know it for the future. Also, the third and last thing he was always very giving with was his patience. We can learn to be more patient from his example. The doc had to put up with a lot, and I mean, you only had to go over to his Facebook account and see the kind of things that people would say. And he was very patient, I believe, with the community. There were times, however, when you need to stand up, you need to be firm, and I don't think anyone can fault him for those times. And you can see that. And I mean, there's a classic example of him and Renee DeHinden. If you go over to the Sasquatch Archives channel, which is a great YouTube channel to watch. But more often than not, of course, Dr. Meldrum was an extremely patient individual. We can all learn from that for the future. And just want to say thank you. Thanks, Doug, for giving us the opportunity to share some thoughts about Dr. Meldrum. And hopefully we can strive to be as great an individual as he was in the community. So thank you.
Thank you,
Jeremiah. So that was Jeremiah Byron from, he did mention it, from the Bigfoot Society podcast. Mm-hmm. And Jeremiah is also one of the nicest, generous people I've ever met. He's amazing.
Awesome.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, no, he's great.
Next we have...
I'm so glad we have the invisible Michael still. Thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, no kidding.
I told everybody we're going to play all these. I don't care how late it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for letting me in.
Yes, thank you.
This is Jeff's send off from us.
Yep, we've got a few more to go.
And his family and whoever. This is being documented.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's next, Jeff?
Next up is Whit Helton.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Whit Helton. I'd just like to take this.
You can't play that. I'll get him to re-record it, and I'll do it next week.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm
too
sorry,
low.
Whit. That's just too quiet.
I could hear it.
It was really quiet.
So quiet, I can't.
All right.
I'd rather have him record it, and we'll play it next week.
Yeah. So the rest of these, let's see here. The name he says here is Michael Ann. Not sure if that's a name or not, but
yep,
here we go.
That's his name.
Oh, Michael Ann, it is his name. Okay, I didn't know what that was.
Yep.
Here he is.
Dr. Meldrum, you were an inspiration to a generation, be it your students, to those chasing cryptids, to families that got together to watch your programs together, to friends and family that would travel to different conventions to enjoy family time and time with friends at different Bigfoot conventions. Your inspiration to learn more, to educate ourselves, has been nothing but a godsend to many people. Your book, Legend Meets Science, brought myself and coworkers with lots of different interests together and gave us something to talk about. It was a great icebreaker before any of us really got into any of this Bigfoot topic. It was a book that was passed around, but it brought me back to my days of going to school for anthropology and archaeology, which hopefully I'll go back and finish out my doctorate after talking to you some time ago. I'm going to miss our conversations, be it about Bigfoot, be it about other topics, and sharing different life interests, including some of your travels. I'm going to miss being at conferences and getting those moments to talk with you. You really have been an inspiration to many people. You inspired me enough to look at things outside the box, and some of those techniques have been passed on to other people in lots of other different fields. So I can thank you for that interest in the Bigfoot topic and thinking outside the box, which has inspired many more people. Thank you again for all those great conversations and be able to bounce ideas off you throughout the years.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
That could be the guy.
That could be the guy. 4 left here. This one I don't have a full name. It just says Mike. Here we go.
I never had the privilege of meeting Dr. Meldrum, but I never heard anyone say one bad thing about him. Dr. Meldrum was a pioneer in the field of Bigfoot research. He was someone who created a bridge that made the subject less taboo, and he led the charge for others in mainstream science to get involved in Bigfoot research, express their interest in it, and not be afraid to explore the possibility of such a creature existing. His contributions to this field were invaluable. They completely reshaped Bigfoot research by adding scientific plausibility to the theories, talking points, and potential evidence out there. But I think above all, Dr. Meldrum, he leaves behind this foundational legacy that will be carried on by the new generation of researchers, investigators, and content creators that he inspired to join this community. And to that point, the Bigfoot community, it may have lost a revered icon in this field, but perhaps we can take comfort in knowing that Dr. Meldrum's memory will continue to live on, and perhaps now he might finally know the truth behind the elusive mystery that he dedicated so many years of his life trying to solve.
Thank you, Mike.
That was Mike, excuse me, Lucci.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You know everybody.
I recognize his voice.
Yeah.
All right. I've got I have 2 left now. These are both anonymous. Maybe they'll say who they are.
I know one anonymous. It wasn't loud enough. It's sad.
What's that?
One of them was not loud enough.
Yeah, that one I had to delete. This one we can hear.
Okay.
This is Bigfoot New York Todd here. This loss of Jeff, besides just the good man that he was, and I had the honor of spending the day with him, set up a booth next to him, had a talk, but where does the science go when we lose a legend like this? I'm too soon. We lost something huge. He was putting the science to the legend. Now we're just back to a legend because we lost a scientist like this.
Well said.
Yep. Thank you, Todd.
Last one here.
Okay, who gets the last slot?
This is also anonymous. I have a feeling you're going to know who it is. I don't, but this sounds like somebody who definitely knew him. So it's last one here.
Oh my. Those were words that Jeff would use when he was excited about something. And
Shane Corson.
Dr. Meldrum, he doesn't get excited or didn't get excited about much. But when he did, he would share those words with you, and you knew you shared something of significance and had his approval.
I know exactly what
which was
means.
Always very important to me. And I learned of the passing of Jeff while out camping in the Gifford Pin Show in a remote spot in Washington State. And I learned the news early in the morning, and it shook me hard, like it did a lot of people. And I'm not ashamed to say that I did cry. Jeff was bigger than life, bigger than Bigfoot. Jeff was a wonderful family man and a dear friend, and like many, I'm going to miss him tons. He was an encourager, a friend, somebody that you go to with a question and he would give you an honest answer. As I get older and, heavily involved in this Sasquatch research, I realize that I've been standing on the shoulders of giants, and Jeff is definitely one of those giants and always will be. I don't think there's anybody in this field, in the Sasquatch world, as an academic or whatever have you, that has done more for the subject matter, that has brought it to the forefront, that's put his career on the line. Man, he has some tough shoulders, and for many of us, we had to lean on him at times. Unfortunately, Jeff is irreplaceable, and that hurts me. Irreplaceable as a friend, and irreplaceable as a Sasquatch, investigator, researcher. Like I said, I'm going to miss him tons. But Jeff has left a legacy that will not be forgotten. And Jeff is just one of those guys that made you want to do better at what you were doing when it came to Sasquatch research. He held a high bar, and I'm still trying to get there. But his legacy will go on, his work will go on, and he's driven me to do better and better and to never give up. So I thank you, Dr. Meldrum.
Wow, some amazing statements from people.
That was powerful from Shane. I want to read kind of a close here. I'm going to try. Okay, so that was a good show.
Yeah, that was great.
Got a little busy there for a while. But so as we come to a close tonight's broadcast, I want to take this moment to reflect on everything that everybody has shared tonight. We've heard stories of his friendship, of mentorship, inspiration. We've heard from fellow researchers who have walked beside Jeff in the field, like Shane and John Pickering, from colleagues who admired his courage in academia, and from listeners who were touched by his words and his work. Dr. Jeff Meldrum was more than a scientist. He was a bridge between skepticism and belief, between curiosity and evidence, between the known and the unknown. Jeff showed us that it's possible to be rigorous and yet open-minded at the same time. And perhaps that's really the greatest lesson that Jeff leaves us. That true science is not about closing doors, but about being daring enough to open them. Through Sasquatch Eulogy meets Science 2, that will remain unfinished in Jeff's hands at this time. The spirit of that project, though, and his drive to seek answers, to examine the footprints, to listen to the voices long ignored, is definitely going to live long in all of us. And yes, we will try to finish his book. It may be done to the point of just lacking some of the forensic conclusions. And if that's the case, I do have different stages of the book. And if that's the case, we will get it finished. But to Jeff's family, colleagues, students, our hearts are with you. To the community of researchers and enthusiasts, may we honor him with just by remembering his words, but by carrying forward his work with the same courage and integrity. that he embodied. Jeff. I'm sorry. And Jeff, you will be missed, but you'll never be forgotten. Your footprints are still on the trail, and I will continue to follow them as long as I can, with gratitude and respect. Thank you to everyone who joined us tonight and everyone who shared their voices. This has definitely been more than a radio show to me. It's been a family of gathered memories of a man who changed us all. So, good night, Dr. Meldrum. And good night to all that listened and put up with all the glitches and little things that went wrong tonight. May we keep searching and keep questioning and keep walking the path that you helped light. Good night again, everybody. We'll see you all next week. And so we're
Amen.
Signing off for now.
God bless you, Dr. Meldrum. Thank you.
Well done, guys.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Jeff.
He walked where the tall pines whisper, where the shadows guard their ground, with a cast and a careful measure. He chased what had not been found. Science in his heartbeat, wonder in his eyes. He taught us all to question and never compromise. Here's to Jeff, who followed trails where the wild winds roam, turning legends into questions, bringing reason home. Your footprints are still with us, though the man has gone. Dr. Meldrum, in our hearts, your search lives on. From the halls of the university to the campfires in the night, he bridged the gap of mystery with courage and with light. He showed us that the journey's as sacred as the prize, that truth is in the footprints, not just before our eyes. Here's to Jeff, who followed trails where the wild winds roam, turning legends into questions, bringing reason home. Your footprints are still with us, though the man has gone. Dr. Meldrum, in our hearts, your search lives on. We'll carry on the questions, we'll carry on the flame. Every cast and story will whisper out your name. And when the forest calls us in the silence deep, we'll hear your voice reminding this mystery's ours to keep. Here's to Jeff, who footprints are still on the trail, Jeff, and we're walking right behind.